It's probably because
And there we
you
go.
probably because you gave yourself the title of Fleet Admiral instead of Airedale Nub.
Yeah, that's just on my server. So, now it says we are live on YouTube. Holy crap, this thing sucks.
Ah, there we go.
Alright, minimize that, get back over here. Alright, and the live chat is looking good. So, for all of those joining in the audience, what the fuck are you doing with your life? Time for another wonderful Friday night of shit talking and banter and. Wait, Skeptic. 14:30 UTC is when the customer leaves. Alan, what time is
You're
it
gonna be
right
there
now?
all day. It's 003 UTC. It's 0003 UTC.
Yeah, so you're.
Because it's 1 hour behind my local.
Yep. Yeah, you're gonna be there for 14 and a half hours, Skeptic? Wow, that must be one hell of a customer.
I finally got the notice.
Oh, the response is classic.
So were you trying to say that it was going to be about a half hour, 2.5 hours? Well, why not just give a time frame instead of the Zulu time on that one? That's easier. Which, oh, by the way, Jay, I went through and saved all those images from the previous group chat, and you, if you watch the stream, you will start to notice that they are in the rotation.
I keep an eye on them. So
Hey, Cap is in the chat.
hashtag bootcap.
Okay, so 2.5 hours is when Father Skeptic will be joining us.
That is my favorite one.
Yeah. So, for those people in the audience, if you really want to join in on the depravity, we may open the Discord server for you guys as well. It was originally intended for the panel members, for the veterans. That way, honestly, it's easier to get the link out to join the panel. And also share the fucked up shit that we find absolutely hilarious. Yeah, that's what the mess dex is for. Oh, Cap, come on. You go anywhere and you're told that you're booted. That hashtag has grown so much, you should be happy. It's helping make you famous.
Yep. You're welcome for that, Cap. That was me who started that on Sai's channel.
Which actually, Sai and I talked about it earlier. You get a little bit of a sense of pride when something that you start begins to spread like that, and you realize it. One of them being the hashtag and the whole boot cat movement.
Oh yeah.
Kind of like gonorrhea.
By the time, it depends on the type of mushroom. Generally speaking, though, no. But so with the server, we have the Mestex, we have the Shit Talk Central, which, let's face it, might as well just call that the birthing.
Pretty much.
And then for any disputes between members of the Discord server, we also have the fan room, which you sub boys don't really know much about, but it's generally a fan room counseling when someone needed a particular type of adjustment that was otherwise off the record. That's where it happened.
Dude, submarines only have one fan room.
No, actually, I had two.
Oh yeah, you are on a Trident. That doesn't count. No, the real submarines have one fan room. So, and everybody on board had to know every valve and pipe in there. So we know about the fan room.
Yeah, well, it to me it just didn't seem like you would have a huge room dedicated just to airflow like on the carriers. So it's a little
Well,
different.
it wasn't a huge room, but that's where all the air came in and mixed with all the air from everywhere else before it went down to the CO2 scrubbers and the carbon monoxide hydrogen burners and
We don't see,
oxygen generator.
see on real ships. We don't need those. We don't need the oxygen scrubbers much.
But we still had the filters in case of a CBR attack.
Agreed.
Yeah, so by the time that little fucker that ate part of the pizza, I would be more concerned about the bread and cheese than the mushrooms. You know what? Here's the thing, Cap. I recommend people who are not military members to join the live chat and be a part of this simply because you can interact with us because we actually do keep an eye on it and we will respond. We will interact with you guys in the live chat as best we can. And so if you have any question about someplace we've been, something we've done, as long as we are allowed to talk about it, you're going to get the unfiltered answer from us here. Even like say you run into someone who's considering joining, send them to us and have them ask their questions to people who have actually been in. Hey, Drag is here. You majestic motherfucker. By the way, for those who don't know, Dragnaut Silvis, he's an former Army medic. So, another fun source of shenanigans.
Oh yeah.
What's the story about him and Steve McRae? I missed that drama.
I honestly don't know, and frankly, I interact with the GDC so infrequently, I kind of don't care.
Makes sense to me.
Worst experience with an officer? Define worst. Because there are varying levels there.
Mine wasn't with an officer, it was with an NCO. It was being counselled that I should not be tinting my hair. My naturally grey hair that I had at the age of 24.
Oh,
After he realised, he just basically told me to bugger off and forget about the conversation completely.
you know what I did? I had a guy like that once. Actually, you know what I did? I told him.
What?
I told him to break out the black hair dye.
Nice. Alright.
There's a reason I did so. The gray hair stood out a freaking mile in a bunch of bushes.
Yeah, I can see that.
Alright, where is...
Because normally, I should have done what your NCO was trying to tell you to do. Was just leave off.
The dumbest thing that you've seen an officer do.
Huh?
Oh, the Cap's next question is, what is the dumbest thing that you've seen an officer do? That's a show in and of itself.
Oh, no, that's two shows in and of itself.
Wow.
Hey, Drag.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, We can
Yep.
hear you.
Yep.
Okay, cool. What is this platform?
This is the professional side of Google Hangouts.
Huh.
So,
Wow.
so it is unsnipeable, and okay, what did I miss?
No, that's Tube Show.
All right,
Yeah,
who,
the dumbest thing we've ever seen an officer do.
all right, who is watching the show?
You guys hear me? No.
We're getting feedback from the live stream.
What is this platform? Lord Crocosquirrel?
Yep, squirrel. Squirrel, mute the watch page. You know
Fixed
better.
it.
Okay. So, with regular Hangouts, you have a panel cap of 10 people, Drag. Here,
Mhm.
25.
Holy shit.
And you cannot snipe this Hangout at all.
Huh.
The only person allowed to remove people is me.
And I'm guessing this is something you paid for.
Yes, it is paid service. It's $10 a month.
Oh, it's not bad at all. It's not even a Netflix subscription.
No,
Okay.
no, but it does want a domain name to assign it to, like a business. So with the increase of shows that I'm doing, I actually decided, you know what, fuck it, let's start my own web-based production company. So that's what I decided to do.
That sounds good to me, man. Does Jim W., some of our other our vet friends know about this?
I put it out in that massive group you had before. I don't know how many of them really paid attention, but it is open to all vets, to people with questions about the military. Panel members are vets only, which actually I am in work on a Discord server right now to make it easier to put the link out and for all of us to interact, because Discord has a 10-member limit for a group message. Fuckers. So I'm actually, once this video goes live, I am going to be, actually, you know what? No, fuck it. I'm going to put my Discord name in the description of the video. For those who are on Discord, message me if you want the link to the server, and we'll get you invited in that way. So
Nice.
yeah, trying to smooth out bringing people on, letting people know about it and everything. It's growing. I've only been doing this. This is what, week 5 now? Yeah, holy shit, we've been doing it for just over a month.
Okay. Well, I will start definitely post it in my drag chat so that people can see, because I'm going to have to relegate time for this, because the last time you, me, Jim, was it Jay Pasick, there was like 3 or 4 other people there. We sat there. We were supposed to talk for maybe 20 minutes, and we ended up staying there a fucking hour and a half. And it was like getting on midnight, and they were like, yeah, we should go. Hey, you remember that one story where I went in the field? And it never ended. It would have never stopped if one of us would have went, you know what? I'm getting up and I'm leaving.
Yep. Well, and that's why before I went live, the people who were already on the panel here, I let them know my plan tonight and going forward is to start wrapping this up around 11:30 p.m. Eastern time. So in about little over 3 hours. And the main reason for that is because I go from this show into Psy Strikes movie night at midnight Eastern.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
Remember there, Jared, you're not the only one.
oh, I know. You do as well, Squirrel, but you tend to drop out even earlier than that anyways, so. Plus, this is my channel, my show. I kind of have to set that ground rule for what I want to do, too.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I will definitely be promoting this. I need to actually make a compilation video of people's channels and shows and shit like that, so that when I'm not pushing someone's shit in, other people can go and watch. Check fucking Doc Savage and his Psychic Vampire podcast. and all some of these other shows, man. Because this is like if y'all have never seen that, that's like an acid trip mixed with like I don't know, like every gay joke in the Navy. Like I don't even know how to even describe it.
So it's funny you mention that because I was watching and in the live chat of G-Man's show last night where he actually had you and MP on, and then Negation of P. Oh my God, was that? It wasn't the worst dumpster fire I've seen, but just the way you towards the end there where you were just like pot shotting in and G-Man didn't even notice it, dude. That was fucking hilarious.
I'll just make little comments here and there. And he was so like, what happened? And I told, oh, who's calling me? Oh shit. Okay, actually, gentlemen, I'm gonna have to go. Someone's calling me. I had to put out an actual dumpster fire, well, figurative
Right.
actual dumpster fire. Thank you, sir. Hey, you guys, good luck to you.
Yeah, not a
Have
problem.
fun,
Man. And
hard stuff, Greg.
I'll get you the Discord link. So, yeah, we're definitely gonna work on getting this out there. I completely forgot about just how many people through Drag that I've talked to before on his channel. The couple times I've been on there, but hey, the more the merrier. Brings that life into it. So, let's see. Oh yeah, Cap talking about seizures and everything, and oh yeah, so funniest shit that we've seen commissioned officers do. Where do we want to start with that one?
Oh God, that question! I tell you, you know what? The best person to ask would have been my gunnery sergeants. Any of my top shirts, you could have asked them. They would have given you all. They give you all kinds of stories about me.
Well, one of the funniest stories that I've heard actually came from my brother, who was actually an Army medic, as just like Drag was. And my brother was attached to the 1st Armored that got extended in Iraq back in 2004. Yeah, 04, because I was still in Jacksonville. And the fucked up part about that, he didn't find out from his chain of command that they got extended. He found out from our mother, who found out from CNN.
Damn.
So that's the command structure that he was dealing with.
God.
He had
I
one.
heard it was bad after I got out. I didn't think it was that bad.
Oh yeah. It definitely left a lot to be desired. But one,
No, that's standard procedure pretty much in the Navy.
well,
Like if you want to know your ship's schedule, ask the Wives Club.
oh yeah,
And,
they find out that shit quick.
No, it's like.
Hey Jay, can we get some more? Can we get some more detail on this thing from the chat? You were telling Cap a story in the chat. We need some more detail on that, man.
Oh, from Brown.
Oh yeah.
Go ahead, take it, man.
So Chuber is probably not too unfamiliar with telling people to go back to feed, the shaft seals, things like that. One of the common ones is actually to go back and either send somebody to go to the DCA, go below the DCA, or go below the engineering officer of the watch. Well, we had an incident who was in control, trying to study for his engineering officer of the watch quals, and we told him that, hey, the Eng really loves it when the guys really suck up to him. And then when we mean suck up to him, we mean he loves it when they give him a blowjob. And you need to go ask him, if he'd be okay with that, and do it quickly so that way you'll pass your EO board. And the officer of the deck was actually getting out of the Navy after his tour here, so he really egged it on even more than I did. And so he goes down from control on a Trident. Down the forward ladder is right where the CO and XO staterooms are.
Oh, God.
And the the engine was talking to the CEO, and he comes out of the CEO's stateroom doors still wide open, and the ensign asks him that, and we just hear the engine blow up on this guy from control, which is really funny because he should have heard it coming because the captain has an open mic speaker to from control, so he knew we were telling him all this. I wonder if the captain had turned it down when he started hearing us talking about it. But the captain came up at, to the aft end of control, and we said, "Captain on deck," and he's like, "Did you guys really have to do that and send him right in front of my stateroom?" Like, well, we didn't know he was there, sir. It's one of the funniest things we've ever made a junior officer ever do. One of the stupidest things they've ever done, because total, like, just starry-eyed. I better take these guys at their word type of moments,
I think the worst thing I ever did was send. I think the worst thing I ever did instead of listening to it was send somebody to go get a BT punch. That was always hilarious. He come back, beat the crap, and said, "Where's my BT punch?" I don't know. He just kept hitting me.
Yeah,
Maybe
A-ganger
not-
punch.
All right, so one of the worst things that I was involved in was actually more a physical thing. We on the Kitty Hawk, we had one of the better set up shops where you walk in to the vestibule just at the opening of our shop, and the shop was divided into 4 aisles. That first aisle was the micro min guys, the solder techs. Then you had a couple aisles of all our comm nav benches. And then the last aisle ended up being the party area, is probably the best way to describe it. We had a large flat screen TV, full surround sound, a microwave, coffee maker, washer and dryer, full size, not apartment size, and 4 other TVs set up with random game consoles. It was our built-in lounge. One of the guys in the shop started annoying the ever-loving shit out of us during the day. So I told him, "You know what? You have nothing to work on. Get the fuck out of my sight. You have 2 minutes. If you're still in here, you're not going to enjoy what happens." He didn't even last 2 minutes before he opened his mouth again. And before I could say anything, a couple of the guys tackled him. Started just kidney punching him. Not too bad, but we actually liked him, so we weren't trying to hurt the guy, just fuck with him. And then they decided to drag him into the lounge. And his protestations became muffled. I didn't want to know what was going on, but I had to open the curtain enough to look through. They were trying to flip him upside down. And then take the 500-mile-an-hour tape and tape him to the pole. And fucker was putting up a good fight. He was a squirrely bastard. At that point, I was like, "Oh, no, guys, we can't put him upside down because then we're going to have to call the medics. Put him right side up, and then put him a few feet off the ground." So we ended up getting him about a foot off the ground, suspended against the pole, and mummified him in 500-mile-an-hour tape.
You're still gonna need the medic.
Oh, no, he was in coverall, so all we would have had to do is just cut it down the pole, and then he was fine. See, we made sure to avoid the skin for that reason.
That was
That
kind
took
of you.
like off.
I heard both of you kind of muffled together.
I said that was kind of you.
Well, yeah, to flip him back up, right side up. Well, yeah.
No, not to go on the skin.
Well,
Well, that happened to me on WOD night, but they used duct tape.
That shit See, here's the
Take
thing:
me
a
to a
500 mile an
chair
hour tank does not play games. It's going to adhere to any and everything, not unlike super glue. And if you put that shit on skin, it has to be soaked off, or you're going to be ripping skin.
Am I muted? Can you guys hear
No,
me?
I can hear you, Chubert.
Okay.
But yeah, the duct tape during Wog Day. Yeah, that took a while to grow back.
Well, they just
Yeah.
duct taped me to a chair, then lifted me up into the overhead, left me hanging there for a couple hours.
Well, you screwed something up, didn't you?
It was wog night. Every wog. That happened to every wog.
Oh, while
Wog night, the night before showback initiation.
yeah,
Oh yeah, no. I managed to avoid that. At least
You-
that
you-
particular thing.
you actually missed out. It was, you know what? It was physically
Wog night.
demanding, but it was
I remember
it was
Wog Night
hilarious.
clearly. However, I didn't get that one. I was never actually duct taped to a chair and stuck in the overhead.
Well, I put up
However,
a fight. They chased me around. I was
Trying
in
to
one of
get
the actors.
Of BMMC, that sucked.
What about blowing out pad eyes that were filled of seawater and who knows what from the
Garbage
mess deck?
juice.
Yeah.
Garbage juice. The cruise mess stored up weeks of garbage, collected the juice, and poured them into pad eyes. You get 2 wogs on either side of a pad eye, and they had to blow it out. Whoever blew the hardest and the longest did not get a face full of garbage juice.
Yeah. I'm glad.
Then you'd come across a pad eye where someone puked into it, and they told you to blow that one out too.
See, this is where I'm glad the guy on the other side of me was a smoker.
Yeah. The guy that was standing up.
Did
The
you
guy that was standing opposite
did they
side of
have
me.
did they have
Oh no, he stopped smoking right after that.
did you have shillelaghs?
Ugh. Don't remind me.
We had
I can neither confirm nor deny the WOG alignment tool's presence on my WOG day. Some people had them. We weren't supposed to, but there were a few around.
Oh no! And back in my day, it was required, but then they got hard on hazing.
Yeah. Well, I really wish someone in security was able to get video of, oh god, what port was it? Otaru. When we pulled into fucking northern Japan.
Oh god. Oh, been there.
My divisional master, my departmental master chief, frickin' PRCM deal. He had such a hard-on for drill, marching, and all that happy horse shit. He was 3 sheets to the wind on the pier, calling out marching commands and movements for himself and fucking them up.
Yeah, that sounds like a few Master Chiefs I've met. Mind you, it reminds me very much more of a few high-end Master Sergeants who shall remain nameless.
Yeah, I never had any psycho Master Chiefs like that.
You got
Oh.
no. You want psychos? Try Skippy Schwartz.
Oh, the way... I really wish I could have gotten some of his ramblings recorded that we would hear when we were in formation for just random stupid shit. Guy was... Alright, so some people were just meant to be in the military and could not succeed in any other walk of life. That was him. Like,
I have a question.
Hmm.
I have a silly, stupid question. Are you sure this guy was a Master Chief and not some frustrated Marine? Because that's what he sounds like.
You know, hang on. I actually found pictures of him online.
Oh no.
Actually, where's that? You know what? I'm gonna find the cruise book again.
Oh gods, please no.
The second to last cruise book, the 2005-2006 year. Yeah. And there he is. Alright. So, how the fuck do I want to do this? You know what? I'm just gonna... Hang on. We are going to share in the madness. Let's share over here. And bring this here. That guy right there. Roscoe J. Deal.
Yeah, he definitely does look like the type that would do that.
Oh, and my department head, the AMO, Commander Taylor, he was actually a fucking awesome guy. He was cool as shit. When an issue was going on with my then wife medically, and my division office was indifferent, and my shop chief was being an absolute dick, he was one of the few ones to step in and it was like, what the fuck do you guys think you're doing? If it wasn't for him, I would have been processed out of the Navy a lot sooner than I was. Because I did not stay kosher with how I started replying to my chief with my division officer and divisional chief tagged in on it. But then again, my frustration was justified because I was going through the fleet liaison properly in all my replies, whereas my chief at the time was emailing me directly to my personal email, not even trying to clue in the fleet liaison or even some of the other parts of the command structure on the Kitty Hawk itself.
Uh-oh.
Yep.
That's never a good sign.
Nope. But part of that is what happens when you have a squadron chief trying to run an intermediate level maintenance shop. They don't.
Ugh.
Yeah.
No. Wow. Who the hell put that guy in charge without at least a training course?
Not a clue. But who...
Please get one.
I
Seriously.
I still remember that chief's name, and... Yeah, he's not very well liked. And what was hilarious, the chief that I had when I first got on the boat was my chief in Washington State when I got there. And when before I could even say anything, he pulled me aside and was like, what the hell happened after I left? So I told him the story of what happened and why I actually ended up in that location after my PCS. He, frickin' Joel, loved the dude. He said that no one in the Chiefs mess liked that guy. He just didn't get it. I mean, he was trying to stick with what he knew, and it was so wrong, and he refused to listen.
Well, I want to know how this guy made chief if that was the problem. If the
Got
problem
good
was
evals.
just with severe cranial rectal inversion, How the hell did he get promoted to chief?
He
Good.
looked.
I want
When
that's
they-
the answer I want.
When they select people for chief, they don't talk to their peers. They just look at their evals.
Yeah, he looked good on paper.
Yeah.
Okay, for starters, my team and I look good on paper. You know how, but anybody who would see us in the field would look at us like we'd been stupid.
Well,
Yeah.
and here's the thing. I understood that part about making chief, which is why when the opportunity to go to the Kitty Hawk in Japan, I jumped on it because I recognized doing an arduous sea duty and how quickly I was making rank at that point. I was a shoo-in for E7. I was a shoo-in for chief at that point, had things on the management side of the Navy not pushed me out as quickly as it did.
When I was my second boat, we had this one dirtbag chief, best way to describe him. No one liked him. None of the chiefs liked him. The day he checked off, we had a new guy check on board. And I'm in the control room. My chief's talking to this new kid saying, blah, 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 blah. I have a good working relationship with all the chiefs. He turned to me and said, did Chief Blackburn check out already? I said, yeah. I have a good working relationship with all the chiefs.
So I'm curious, Jared, how the hell did they get you out?
Oh, I left. And it was really interesting the way that I worked it. So because of the medical issue that my then wife and son had exacerbated, it necessitated a couple month early relocation off of the Kitty Hawk. So instead of leaving it when it got to Washington State, I left it when they were still in Hawaii. So I didn't do the final leg of the last ride on it, but I was still began the decom and was part of the last full crew of her. But it was still deemed an emergency relocation. Part of that emergency relocation, I was supposed to extend my time on active duty to fulfill the follow-on sea tour of being Sea Optet out of Fleet Readiness Center Northwest on Whidbey Island. However, I began the transfer before either re-enlisting or extending. So I started to go through the process to re-enlist while I was there in Washington, but realized, wait a minute, the fucker's already transferred me while I'm here. I have less than a year left. Do I really want to put up with this bullshit anymore? Is it worth it?
What was your SRB?
1.5 at that point.
Oh yeah, fuck that.
Especially re-enlisting stateside? Yeah, no. It ended up being like 14 grand over after tax. No, not even. No, it was 14 grand before taxes for a for an additional 3 years.
Brown.
The numbers just weren't worth it.
Yeah, Jay Brown. What was the best SRB you saw?
Oh, I don't know. Let's see. When I was potentially re-enlisting,
4.5 sounds familiar.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think for Navi T, yeah, it was 4.5. For Sonar Tech at the time, it was 4, which all of them that were re-enlisting the same time I was were getting pretty pissed.
Yeah.
All right, Eric, that image is going into the slideshow immediately.
I would see me. I absolutely refuse to do a damn illegal thing.
So,
Where is the finish?
to
Do I need to know
Masa, to Masa in the chat, my dad retired at a little over 23 years as a senior chief. He wanted to retire at 20, but the Navy told him, well, no, you can't retire yet. We don't have someone to fill your billet.
Well, we don't know who's gonna fill Justice Kennedy's billet, and you know what? He's still fucking retiring.
Yep.
Yeah,
Like
what the
he
fuck he's
died
thinking.
for in the Obama administration. Couldn't replace that. Couldn't fill that billet either. Guess what? Still dead.
Oh, did you guys hear what was going on with the MCPON lately?
With what?
Apparently the MCPON has been a bit of a diva and is he's had a lot of turnover in his office, which is unheard of.
Really?
Yeah, people leaving the support roles of the MCPON early to go back to sea.
Holy shit! They don't ever want to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah, no. I wouldn't want to be in support office.
In my
No
day,
matter who the MCPON is.
that was considered obnoxious, rude, unpalatable, and everything else. You did that is a thing you did not do until you were forced out.
yeah. But apparently this guy, he is too enamored with the celebrity type status of the office that he's actually not playing. He's not doing the role properly. He's actually jaded a lot of the senior brass that he's supposed to be interfacing with and providing that feedback of the enlisted side towards. To
God,
where
I hate people like that.
yeah, to where he's a bit big for his britches. He's forgetting that he's still a chief and not an admiral.
Well, I just looked up MCPON.
Yeah, go ahead, Chew.
No, there's a new MCPON named Russell L. Smith, acting MCPON since June 22nd.
Yeah, because the other one was relieved.
I can imagine why.
Well, hang on now. What's the full story here?
So there was
You ask Giordano.
yeah, so there was also misbehavior where they deemed him, he was acting emotionally unstable and lashing out at his support staff verbally violently, among other things, to where yeah, he caused so much turnover in the office that the office had essentially forgotten how it is supposed to act in Washington, D.C. with all of the brass and everything.
Okay, here's Wikipedia on it. In June 2018, it was revealed that the Navy Inspector General had opened an investigation into Giordano, probing allegations that he had created a toxic work environment and that he was abusive to subordinates.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Holy crap.
Yeah, he set that post back beyond just the term of the guy that's in there currently.
Nah, it's not jump that far.
Well, no, because there has been such a turnover in the office. Because I remember reading the article.
That's fine. If you get a new MCPON in there, he can turn his office around. Lickety split.
The issue is the staff knowing the protocol of how to act. And that's where a proper turnover cycle of his support staff was crucial to that. And because
Well, that's what morning muster is for. You can set your staff straight if they have any questions.
That's fine in theory, but in in the Pentagon
In
area,
practice,
it
so
it,
training
it has its hurdles.
only by a lot.
Nothing a good Master Chief can't overcome.
Should
I
be able to overcome, yes.
yeah,
But
no,
part
yeah.
of
Well, you get a good Master Chief. I've had phenomenal Master Chiefs who just turned a bad work environment around overnight.
yeah, no,
Like
and
the last cob I had on my last boat, he got all the chiefs together and said, "You will have a 2-day work list posted in your workspace. Every day I'm going to go around. If I do not see a 2-day work list, I'm putting your man on liberty."
yeah, and that's
He
where I
was a
say
phenomenal Master Chief.
the Chiefs that I worked for, especially in Jacksonville, and a couple of them when I first got to the Kitty Hawk, were great. They were in that mold, but sadly, a majority of them from the surface and aviation side got pushed out, and the new mentality of how the Navy was being run took over, and a lot of people who recognized it tried to voice concerns about it through proper channels, and it fell on deaf ears. And Giordano being getting to MCPON and acting in that fashion is the culmination of that failure to listen and failure to respond appropriately, rather than treating the Navy like a military force and actually managing it in such a manner. They tried to manage it like a business, and they are now starting to correct it, but it's still going to be a long and painful process to fully correct it. Which is one of the reasons why I left and made the decision I did in the manner I did, because if they were going to treat the Navy like a company, like a business, then I'm going to go out and make myself competitive and make the Navy compete for my services. And if they can't afford me, then I'm gone.
I used to tell my old navigator that it's like, these charts fucking suck. The sounding data is off. Everything, there's so many fucking problems with our charts. I'm gonna get out of the fucking Navy and start my own surveying company that charts the oceans, and I'm gonna sell the data to the Navy.
How'd that go for you?
Well, I was just joking. That's too much work.
Well, duh.
No, but I'm sure if someone wants to take that on board, they can make a lot of money. No, we had these super secret, well, I wouldn't call them super secret, they were just secret charts with sounding data on them. You know, echo charts, bottom contour charts.
PB&Z
Jay Brown,
charts.
you know what I'm, yeah. BZ charts. Yeah, we had these, you've seen the secret equivalent, the BNPCs that are broken up into 4 panels of a bottom contour. We had one, and it showed, it shows the lines of your sonar surveys. And they had this line going over that rock, like what, 500 miles northwest of Ireland. This secret chart, supposed to be the best data you got. It had this freaking line going over rock, which is 200 feet tall. It's like, okay, this obviously isn't accurate, because this sonar survey ship did not climb up this rock and go down the other side.
So I'm doing stuff on the backside. By the way, Jay Brown, that picture you sent to on the in that Discord chat group, I went ahead and put that into the slideshow too because people need to realize just what some of us had to deal with.
Yeah, and that's again, like I said in there, that's for Tekatron and Chuber. So
Yeah.
Which actually, once the server is fully up and operational on Discord, that's what the mess deck is going to be for.
you mean when it gets up and running, or do you mean if? That should be the bigger question.
No, when. It's not a question of if, it's when. Be it tonight or sometime during this weekend.
I've frequently seen that picture referring to like walking over those for Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving couple days. Lads, I mean.
Oh yeah, and I forgot I put the USS Virginity picture in there too.
What, where?
Damn.
So
That'll
the
teach you to pay attention.
oh no, like I made sure that it was relevantly funny. The pictures that ended up in the slideshow folder is just where is it? There.
That's the wrong rack.
Yeah, you get that. You get you get all the ones ripping on the other branches and our own. Although
Yeah.
I do have to say the King Boatswain Mate one. Holy fuck! Wonder what it was like to work for that dude.
I
Oh, yeah.
could guess probably not very good. Probably not a lot. Anybody thought they were king on anywhere near me usually had a problem. I'm actually drafting master. I don't think we have any Air Force on board right now.
We do
Well,
not.
not US.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
not U.S. Air Force. We got
But
the
then they
Royal
don't-
Air Force.
But then if he was talking about the Royal Air Force, he would have said RAF. That's
Oh, I'm
there's-
sure.
He said specifically Air Force. That means he's probably we're probably talking about the American Air Force. Because of course, as we all know, most of the air forces on the face of the planet do their combat backwards. They do. They don't even. They may not even know what actual combat is. Because what do? They pack their officers in these big metal boxes and send them off to go do the fighting, while all the enlisted men sit back and play golf. What's up with that?
That seems like a really good idea.
Oh yeah, it sounds like a beautiful way to do it.
Hey guys, I gotta drop out for dinner. I'm gonna mute, but not
All right,
sign
all right.
off. I'll be back in about 20 minutes.
All right, we'll see you when you get back, Chew.
Jared, well, I wanted to ask you a question because I've been watching the. Oh, bugger, I've forgotten his name. Does some American history documentaries. Did one on the Civil War and World War II, and I've been watching his Ken Burns, and he's done one on Vietnam, and the Kitty Hawk that they showed, sort of newsreel clips of from '63. Was that the same hull you served on?
CV-63, yes sir.
Shit, she was old.
Oh yeah. she was the oldest metal hulled ship in active service at the time of her retirement. She took that banner away from the Independence when they crossed, because so the way it worked out, the Midway was the permanent forward deployed carrier out of Yokosuka, Japan for almost 20 years. And then in 1988, the Independence took over. After Midway retired, it was a few years later, probably 93, 94, if I remember right, Indy
Yep.
became the oldest active ship. In 98, Indy was on its way back to the States to be decommissioned, and the Kitty Hawk took its place. Shortly after that cross-deck happened, once the Independence was officially struck from the register, the Kitty Hawk became the oldest active ship. And then in 2008, when we retired, the Enterprise got it, but only lasted another year.
Yeah.
She was a
So
lead.
when- Pretty cool.
Enterprise. She's poor Enterprise. I swear.
Oh, the big experiment was just that. I mean, they did so many things to that ship to be like, hey, I wonder if this would work. I'm surprised she lasted as long as she did because of that.
Well, no, you're not kidding. Poor Enterprise got the wrong end of the stick the whole way down. But unfortunately, she wound up in the same condition as Midway Indy and ultimately Kitty Hawk, turned into razor blades or other things.
Yeah, she's still sitting in Bremerton right now. There's still a bunch of us vets from her who are wanting to get her to be a museum, and it's just not working. And and part of it is the cost, and that is the only limiting factor is the cost to turn her into a museum. I think it would be great to have a super carrier as a museum ship, so you can actually see the difference in the lineage going from the Independence in New York, the Midway and Hornet in California, and then looking at the Kitty Hawk class, because the Kitty Hawk was not much smaller than the Nimitz. It was only about 30 feet shorter. That's it.
Yeah.
But none of your nukes are going to be able to be museum ships for one reason.
Oh, it's that fun thing. We call it a reactor.
Yeah.
You decommission those in a very specific way. You have to tear apart half the ship to do it.
Yeah, it's so much work to make them a museum ship after you cut out large sections of their engineering.
Yeah, the amount of cutting of deck plates to decommission a nuclear powered ship it's insane.
Well, you know where all the waste goes from the nuclear fleet, right?
Where?
Hanford, Washington.
Huh.
It's a little southwest of where RJ lives and all that.
Yeah, like I knew all the subs that were being recycled were done up there. I didn't know they did the reactor material for the surface ships too. Huh. Nifty.
Yeah, they had an exclusive contract for quite a while with the Navy about that. So now and I don't think it's the Navy stuff is leaking, but now they have a bunch of other nuclear waste storage tanks that are leaking from their double hull insulators into the cavity in between the two.
Yeah, that might be a bit of a problem. Okay, I just took a look at the chat and Drafting Master. The picture of the Airman and Marine one, where the Marine is saying, "No, it's supposed to sound like that." He actually laughed and agreed with that one. That yeah, most airmen don't realize just how loud it's supposed to be.
Oh, hey, it's the god of boatswain's mates just came up too.
Yeah, dude, with how long that guy was fucking in.
remember.
I wonder how many times he had to go back to red to get the gold. That's the real question.
Actually, it's almost many stripes as Master Chief Kanopka had. Used to have a when I was went through boot camp in Orlando. The command Master Chief in Orlando at the time was this boiler tech Kanopka, and he'd had stripes running down his. Captain Peters, the base called him Sir. I mean, it was
Well, and that's really the way it's supposed to be. That is one of the things that I learned early on, not so much from my dad, but actually from my grandpa, from my pop-up, who is a retired SK chief, that the purpose of the Chief's Mess is to keep the JOs in line and actually are the ones to train the junior officers in how things are going to go. So your senior officers, by the time they get up to that level, they remember what the Chief's Mess did to help them along their way early on. So there is that respect that goes back and forth in that way. And that's the way it should be. Because, sorry, some fucker from the academy with less than a year in is going to try to pull big dick over someone who's been in for 16, 17 plus years. Yeah, no, that's not going to fly. Oh, yeah, and speaking of the officers who sucked ass, the one officer that my brother would always talk about, I'm surprised this guy lasted in the position as an infantry officer as long as he did, because he decided to rationalize what he called IED fishing, where if they came up upon something that was a little sketchy, he would send out one of the junior enlisted with a grappling hook to try to hit it to see if it would go off or not. Instead of sacrificing, I don't know, an armored personnel carrier or a tank. You know, something that can actually withstand the majority of the blast. Alright, it's gone eerily quiet. Oh, okay, you guys are still alive. Good. The stream didn't die this time.
Not yet, anyway.
No, it's just 02. It's just 0205 here, so it's a bit, a little bit tuning out time.
Yeah. But yeah, another good one. They were doing some stuff, going building to building, clearing out an area. Guy saw movement on top of a building and went to call in artillery. They replied back to confirm the grid, and he went silent. Then my brother hears over the radio one of the top comms, the top commanders, screaming for a confirmation of the grid. Guy comes over in the radio. Sorry, no, it was just one of my fire teams. Fucker almost called artillery on his own guys.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So actually, Drafting Master and Jay, what are you doing, you little bastard? Sorry, one of the dogs I'm babysitting decided to go between my feet.
I never really saw officers fresh out of the academy. I don't think anybody on subs really did.
Well, no, because you kind of need to know some shit before they let you volunteer for it.
Yeah. I mean, you know, a little wet behind the ears, sure, but I mean, they've been through the nuclear pipeline. They went to the officer sub school. Rarely saw butter bars.
Almost every single one of the JOs that came to my boat were butter bars. A couple were JGs.
We had one butter bar.
The Bull Ensign. Yay.
Part of it was because he had come through ROTC and they had I don't know if it probably hasn't changed, but at least back then, it's still the sub officer force was still very heavily Naval Academy.
Yeah, most of mine were ROTC or Seaman to Admiral 21 guys
Oh, really? Wow.
that were all former nukes anyway. So
Most of ours were Naval Academy. Then we had the one ROTC, and then finally, actually, my second XO, actually was a Mustang. So.
most of my Mustangs were pretty cool, but I had one that acted like he walked on water, so it was pretty fun to get him one time for doing something stupid.
I hated the first XO. Absolutely hated the first XO. Apparently, I wasn't the only one, because I remember we came back. We lost him after our first deployment. He came back, and it wasn't too long after we pulled back in that he basically had packed his stuff up and left. Found out he had gotten passed up for commander for the third time.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, Crockett Squirrel knows what that means.
Yeah, you know what? I've actually been in that. I've been in the position he was in, and to be perfectly honest with you, not all of us Mustangs can be perfect. We got to have at least one stupid fucker.
Well, no, I mean he was not like. I mean, I even ran into issues with him. So
Most Mustangs usually get they're usually got it in their heads that legitimate people do. You know, most
well, no,
of it like
this was the Mustang. This was the first XO. The Mustang replaced him.
oh, hopefully that went better. I'm guessing the Mustang went better for you.
Oh yeah, everybody liked the Mustang better.
Everybody but the people over him in the wardroom, or worse, the people that came out of Annapolis that were junior to him. They hated that fucker. I guarantee they hated that
Probably.
fucker. You know
They never expressed it.
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, most of the officers I had to deal with hated me. I know where that guy is firsthand. They hated me.
Yeah, it wouldn't shock me because, I mean, like I said, it was very. I mean, obviously Jay had a little bit different experience when he was in, but I mean, most of our officers were Naval Academy, and you know, we had the one ROTC guy, and he was shit detail because he wasn't a Naval Academy guy. I mean, it was
that's because of the Naval Academy.
Yep.
That's because the pukes out of the Naval Academy tend to be really clubbish and cultish, whereas those of us who came up either through ROTC programs, they're usually mostly okay. But the officer you want, if you've got a combat role, you want the Mustang because he's been where you are.
Oh yeah,
probably not going to fuck with you. And if that guy is up your ass, you're doing something wrong, and you should probably work out what it is before he tells you.
Yeah, I had run into the issue where me and another guy had got into an accident off base, and we were late, and we were getting written up for it. And we were going, and during the XO investigation, he was just hammering us, and you know, he was talking about bringing it up to, you know, recommending it for mast and stuff like that. It's like after that happened, a couple months go by, and I haven't heard anything. And you know, once again, it's a sub, it's a small thing. I happen to be with the skipper at one point in time and talked to him about it, and he's like, "Oh, well, I got it," and I looked at the investigation stuff and I just dismissed the whole thing. I wasn't. Didn't the XO tell you? I was like, no.
No. No, he wants me to be he wants me to be scared of him. That's what he wants.
So, but actually, I heard it was actually part of the recommendation from the CO why he got passed up too. So it's apparently it was like I said, apparently I wasn't the only one who didn't like it.
Oh, there you go. Sorry.
Yeah, don't always count on your CO for recommendations for promotion. The fun part of it is, though, is only actually the fun part of it is that I got at least 2 promotions by means of nobody else could do the freaking job. The guy that was in my job got shot because somebody else was stupid, and I wind up with it. I don't want it, but I got it anyway.
Oh, that's how I got my specialist. Our company commander left, and the acting company commander was the medic platoon leader because he had senior rank, and I had done him a couple favors, even though I was a mortarman, and so he gave me a waiver, so I got my E4 after a year. It's all on who you know, baby.
I did get along with most of the people on my boat, though.
Boats.
Well, I got along just fine with the people that were under my direct command. It's the other people. It's a lot of the other people that tended to be standoffish. Like, you're gonna get polluted by his Mustang germs. What do you mean he got another field promotion? Where the hell were you?
The other one I didn't like was our chief. I couldn't stand him either.
Yeah, well, sometimes you get a chief that you don't like. I've seen a few chiefs that I don't like. Mind you, I didn't cause any problems for them intentionally.
Well, our problem was okay, on subs they used to have data processing techs. Like beforehand. But they used to have data process. Not many of them, but they used to have some data processing techs. They mostly handled over the horizon type stuff.
Right.
But we're talking about a nuclear sub. The over the horizon stuff isn't very useful unless you're at periscope depth or surfaced. How often is a nuclear submarine at periscope depth or surfaced?
It depends whether or not they want to use the VLF or ELF gear.
But well, long story short, it's not very often. So we're talking about a fast attack too, and not a.
Oh well, that's completely different. That's completely different.
So of course they decide to get rid of data processing techs. So they figure they just merge data processing techs in with FTs. So the data processing techs didn't even fix their own equipment anyway. So in the brilliance of how Navy works. Of course, they decide, okay, all the E5 data processing techs and below, we're going to send them back to FTA school and cross-rate them to FT.
Oh, you got to be kidding me.
No, that's fine. That's their confusion. But, of course, then you get over to the Bupers stuff, how they're going to do stuff at Bupers with E6s and above, where they're just basically going to wave their magic rating wand, and these data processing techs are going to go to sleep one day as data processing techs, wake up the next day as FTs, and my chief was an E6 data processing tech when that happened. So we had this chief that knew absolutely nothing about the equipment. Nothing. The officers knew more than him. It was scary.
It's not our job to know that much.
You guys are talking squid right now.
Oh yeah, yep. You got to realize most of us are.
Yeah, I'm Army infantry. You guys might as well be talking Spanish.
Well, at least Spanish is comprehensible to half the population. So you could probably. So if we sing you a few bars, you think you could work it alone?
What? Wait, say that again. I'm sorry. I was.
If we sing you a couple of bars, you think you could work it?
No.
Damn. It starts like this. Anchors.
No.
Now, is that not working for you? Damn, I hate it when that happens.
I didn't join the Navy because me and water don't mix.
Well, then what are you doing here with a bunch of squids?
Ooh, perspective.
For veterans, that's I was like,
Well,
okay.
yeah,
I didn't know it was veteran a Navy veteran exclusive.
it is.
We're not exclusive. There's just a lot of squids in it.
There's just a
lot
lot of squids,
A lot
and
of
we get,
bubbleheads
and
specifically.
as a result, we can give we squids are going to give the ground pounders shit. Except, of course, that I spent about 2/3 of my time in the filth and the weeds and yeah, gross.
Beagle, what are you doing? Sorry, I'm talking to my Beagle. He's doing something weird behind a chair. Nope, he figured it out.
If I had to guess, he's being a dog.
Did somebody go in the bathroom?
No, someone's running water somewhere.
That'd be me.
You know that stuff you don't get on with there, Jay?
Oh, yeah, I don't have my head in it or my body submerged in it. Normally, I just wash my hands and splash some on my face.
Yeah.
Most swimming I ever did in the infantry was walk through a swamp every once in a while.
You know what? I had to do that quite a lot. You see any? Do you spend most of yours in training time, or you actually see some combat?
I did mostly training. I was in from 90. I did my active duty time from 97 to 01, and I was 10th Mountain Division up in upstate New York.
My condolences.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I learned to tolerate the cold, drink a lot, and I for some weird reason, this is going to be really offensive, never had sex with an overweight woman while I was up in...
Really? How'd you pull that off?
A lot of people wondered.
Okay.
He wasn't close enough to Groton, that's why.
What's that?
Said you weren't close enough to Groton, Connecticut, that's why.
Oh, no. I don't have beer goggles. My roommate, my first roommate found that out. He wanted to get me laid. He wanted me to get my quote unquote my mountain tab. And so they took me to the bar, one of the local clubs on base, and proceeded to feed me shots of tequila and Corona beers, and sent a girl over to meet me. Very heavy set blonde girl. And when I say heavy set, about 250 pounds. And she walked up. She goes, "Hey, your friends told me that you'd probably like me. You want to go out and dance?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Well, why not?" And I said, "Because you're fucking fat." And she went back and slapped my roommate in the face.
Oh.
And yeah, that's what they got for giving me at that point I was on tequila shot number 4 and Corona number 5, I think.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, that's not enough. I've never had beer goggles ever. Just
Damn.
never. I actually get more critical.
See, now I want to know where you were in about mid-98 where I could have used your ass.
Why'd you run into some problems?
Huh?
Why'd you run into some problems?
I got a newbie in March that year, and see, I was in Eastern Europe at the time. Where exactly, I won't go into details.
Okay.
But this guy here was such a friggin' lightweight, you could get him to do anybody after like 3 beers.
Oh, I knew I knew a couple guys that were like that. Yeah,
Unfortunately for me, this particular guy decided he was going to kind of put his hands on the first girl that wouldn't run away. And it was early April, the 3rd, if I remember correctly, when he finally got his hands on a visiting general's daughter.
Not cool.
Not cool.
Ooh, that is asking for trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Well, fortunately, the trouble didn't come down on him first, because it took the general less than 3 minutes to figure out who he belonged to and offer my ass up for court martial. Like, sorry?
You Why would you be responsible for off-duty time?
Yeah, about that. He wasn't off duty. He was supposed to be on watch. I was where I was supposed to be, out in the field with a bunch of other folks. I found this one out when I got back.
Oh, so you were privileged. So you were privileged to information after the fact.
Oh,
and
yes.
so basically, you were gonna suffer for a shitbag.
Actually, believe it or not, the general in question met us when we arrived back from our
Oh, I'm sure
patrol.
he did.
Yeah. This
You
guy,
said this is a visiting general.
yes, visiting general, had brought his daughter with him to go have a look at how the little people live.
Oh.
I don't give a shit how many stars he's got. By the way, the correct answer to that question is 4.
Oops.
That is still a dick reason.
Well,
Yeah.
it was a completely dick move, and fortunately, the general in charge of theater knew who I was and got me out of that particular issue. Mind you, he wound up in a world of shit. He didn't wind up getting court-martialed, but he didn't like Admiral's Mast.
Wait. I don't understand. How are they going to get you in trouble for some shitbag?
Because that shitbag was one of mine. I had left him behind on watch, and he had decided to ditch.
Yeah, but that's not on you. You were out in the field, so I'm still kind of curious as to how
That the general didn't care.
Shit
so-
rolls downhill.
His baby girl had been mauled and abused by some obnoxious soldier, and he wanted somebody's ass. He wanted it now. I was the Mustang. And
No,
so
I'm-
Well,
I'm bringing it. Oh, go ahead, Jared.
here's something to think about, though, too. When I was in Japan, when I was on the Kitty Hawk, in our home port, whenever someone would get in trouble off ship, especially out in town, it wasn't just that person and his shop that got heat for it. It wasn't even just his division. It was the entire department. Department head on down.
Yep.
Good Lord, you guys are masochists.
You know,
Yeah,
you are.
it's common in the Navy for shit to roll uphill. So like if your subordinate fucks up, you're gonna get reprimanded too. Usually. Or at least get a talking to. I mean
Well, I mean,
No,
yeah,
I
I mean, I can understand the talking to, like, hey, what happened? Why did your particular Joe fuck up? Well, I don't know. I was out in the field and I left that motherfucker on watch, and during that time, certain motherfucker fucked up, and I wasn't privy to the information until after the fact, and therefore, hence, I'm not responsible for said motherfucker's actions after I mandated what he was supposed to fucking do.
Yeah, well, that only flies so far, depending, of course, on exactly who you are. I managed to keep from getting court-martialed, certainly, but I did wind up with a little mark in my record for a while.
What? How? How would you end up with a mark on your record for?
Because I did something stupid. I told the general that I was cold, I was tired, I was gross. I'm going for food, a shower, and you could see me in the fucking morning. And when he grabbed me by my lapels, I told him that he was to get his hands off me before I turned him inside out.
Wait, the general threatened you?
Yes, the general actually tried to actually physically pin me down to make sure I wouldn't go anywhere until I'd heard him out about how his poor little girl, wearing not much more than a towel and a fucking bikini top, was accosted by one of my men.
Okay, so basically, you became a victim of circumstance. He
And then
just
I
happened
told
to
her
shitbag.
to victimize me to fuck himself. Yeah,
Okay,
that's
so-
what I got the mark for.
And so
I got the mark for telling a general for telling an extreme superior officer to go fuck himself.
yeah, that'll get you in some trouble. But yeah, so let me get this straight. So you got in trouble. You were basically a victim of circumstance. Your shitbag soldier ditched.
Yeah,
Went to a
well,
club. He went to
think
a
it's a-
club, met the
do-
general's daughter, who was
What's
scantily
fair?
clad.
Well, I only had him 2 weeks. I
Oh,
wasn't
fuck.
taking the field until I figured out what the hell he was good for, which was pretty much nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't happening.
Gotcha. Who's got the bad mic?
I don't know.
I don't think it's mine.
Uh,
There's some static though.
but just to put a little just to rub a little insult into the injury for our friend the general. Yeah. A couple of months later, I was finally relieved of the guy completely. He was going back stateside for a wedding of the shotgun variety.
Because the general's daughter was free.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Got her. He got hold of her once, and was thereafter stuck with her.
how can he be that? Man, the general, the division commander that I had in Fort Drum, his twin daughters, who were both like close to 6 foot, blonde hair, both of them avid runners. We would see them run while we were doing our platoon runs. We would see them run past us. And these
Yeah.
girls were they weren't like the most fantastic looking women. They were good looking girls, but they weren't like, oh my God, they're drop dead gorgeous models or anything. But they were good
Oh
looking.
God, they weren't to the point of, oh God, I'm going to take the risk.
Well, yeah, for a bunch of
Sorry.
Fort Drum soldiers, it's like, yeah, that looks pretty good.
Well,
So it's,
that goes without saying. I mean, you're
you know,
talking
hey, I don't need booze to actually get myself up with this one. Yeah, so yeah, that's a prize. But yeah, nobody ever did, which was amazing. At least I don't think anyone ever did. At least nobody from my unit ever did. Nobody in my unit ever got in trouble with the general's daughters.
Yeah, no. That general's daughter story does actually turn up every so often. The admiral's daughter, that's a common one actually. There's lots. You get lots and lots and lots of stories like that. Most of them are just outright fabrications. This guy, one time, man, it's all it took.
I'm pretty sure that general that I had, he might be dead, and his daughters are probably just a couple years younger than I am and have like 4 Rugrats. So
Oh, that's entirely possible. But like I said, I want to know where the hell you were, Jay. Right about that time, because I probably would have avoided a whole lot of trouble that way.
in May of 1998, I was firmly stationed in Fort Drum, New York.
My condolences. I needed. You know what? I needed you in Kosovo. Damn it! Fuck you. I'd have given you better mountain training anyway.
Probably, considering they stopped mountain training just shortly before I got there. So
Unfortunately, I happened to need people that could do mountains at that time.
well, I was never trained. I got the mountain tab, but I never did mountain training. My roommate had actually been to mountain warfare school, but I never got to go because they phased it out.
Yeah, well, 6 months with me, and your education would not have been neglected. Trust me.
Oh, that'd have been good. I didn't get about the best education I got in the United States Army was how to direct fire an 81 millimeter mortar system on a small village.
Unfortunately, that is really not going to help you much in civilian life.
No. Some of the if you're laying out the guns and stuff, if you get up to the level of FTC and you learn how to lay the guns, it can help you possibly in a survey job. Other than that, it really doesn't get you anywhere.
I don't know. I wound up having to teach most of my people long arms, so it's pretty bad when I have to teach my spotter how to do his job.
Yeah, I went into the Army originally wanting to be a sniper, but And because my general engineering was high, I went in as 11 X-ray. So my general engineering ASVAB scores were higher. So they made me 11 Charlie, and 11 Charlies at the time that I went in didn't get sniper school.
Of course not. Of course, you don't want to go to sniper school in the circumstances I wound up going there. They were trying to give me a combat job, and then turn me into an officer so that I might actually not try and commit suicide on their watch, because it was their fault.
Oh, that's lovely. Now see, my buddy in the scout platoon, he got an honorary. He got a hold of his 201 file, and because he was in the scout platoon and he was in the position as a sniper, even though he never went to sniper school, they gave him sniper school. Somehow it ended up on his 201.
Huh.
That son of a bitch.
Yeah, not like it would count for anything. He ended up getting out, but he thought it was funny. He's like, yeah, they gave me sniper school, but he still got his ranger. He got his ranger tab, but he thought it was funny when he saw in his 201 file that he had sniper school. He's like, I never took sniper school in my fucking life. He goes, I was a sniper spotter. I was in a sniper position as a scout, but I never officially went to sniper school. So yeah.
Someone in Bupers probably put the wrong code in somewhere.
Or they looked at the eval, saw that he was assigned as the platoon sniper, and made the assumption. Oh, it must just be missing from his training jacket. We'll put it in for him.
Yeah. Could have
Yeah,
been.
no.
Could have been. He thought it was funny, but I thought it was funny when he got, because he went to Ranger School, and he didn't even want to go to Ranger School, but he did it anyway. So he goes to Ranger School, and then he got a severe case of really bad pneumonia. Nearly died from it. And then they recycled him, and he still went through. He still came out Ranger qualified.
Damn.
I was like, he came back, and if you ever met this guy, he was like one of my best friends in the Army. His name was Chris Pearson. I was like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? And he goes, yeah, I spent most of my high school drunk, so being in the military is just not really that big of a deal.
So he properly prepared during high school.
Oh, he was a football. He was an Arizona football player. Came from Artesia, New Mexico, not in Arizona. He was from Artesia, New Mexico. He's small football town. Drank a lot. He's from one of those schools, where the football players were the stars. They could get away with murder as long as they, won games and
As
stuff.
long as they won their next game, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least the big game at the end of the year.
Yeah. It was later on that I found out he was one of those go to war or go to jail guys.
Ah.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
By the time I went in, they didn't do that shit no more.
Oh.
Yeah.
We had one in our boot camp company. He was one of those. Actually, he eventually went. What are those guys called? The corpsman, the hospital corpsman that deployed with Marines.
FMF.
Yeah.
Fleet Marine Force.
FMS.
Oh, is that what those guys are? Is that what they're technically called? The corpsmen that are basically they're Navy medics, but they're attached to Marines.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The Marines don't have medics, so
Yeah.
Navy.
My
Yeah,
nephew was
they get corpsmen. Yeah.
medic, so
Yeah, and so I had a guy who claimed to be a jail or military service guy, but I didn't quite believe him. But
I wouldn't have believed it. When was this?
02.
They stopped doing it by then.
That
They
shit
stopped
was
doing
that shit was dead by 1990.
No, because my buddy had it in some states still had it because he got it in 97 because he joined right around the same time I did.
Yeah,
Huh.
so and that's where Eric was in about the same time. So
Earlier, actually. So.
I said about the same time. So those two, I believe it. There, it's plausible. Not this dumb fuck, but on the Kitty Hawk when I got there, we actually had a guy who was drafted.
Really?
He was a corpsman, second class, and he was drafted originally at the end of Vietnam in one of the last, if not the last draft cycle.
Actually, our doc was.
Yep.
My dad got that. My dad actually volunteered because he thought he was going to get drafted, so he just decided to join, and so that way he had a choice of what he was going to be. So he went in, so he joined the Army as an MP, and then like a year into his enlistment, he got drafted, and so then after a year, everybody started giving him shit because he was a draftee, and he was like, he's like, what the fuck? He's like, I've been in for a year. You guys are giving me shit as a draftee. I joined for Christ's sake. Like, oh, you're a draftee. You got draftee status. He's like, oh, for Christ's sake.
How can they do that when you're already in?
Because they don't always keep very careful records.
Oh, especially back then.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, the two branches of recruiting didn't give a shit about one another, or in some cases were actively hostile. I can think of one individual that I heard about that joined the Navy because he didn't want to be drafted. He went ahead, he joined the Navy, and then was drafted Army.
Ouch.
He was drafted to join the Army, and he was told by Washington under no uncertain terms that he would report for draft. He would report to Army boot camp as drafted, or he was going to wind up in prison. And apparently it took almost a year and some serious shit going down to get it all sorted out. Apparently there were some heads that rolled.
Yeah, we had a guy in my anti-tank platoon, because I was in a headquarters company since I was 81 millimeter mortars. So I was with the scouts and the cooks and anti-tank platoon. And the anti-tank platoon, one guy in particular, he hadn't gotten paid for like a year. And come to find out, his social security number was one number off from a guy that was actually serving in Leavenworth. So the guy in Leavenworth was actually receiving his money, and nobody would do anything about it. And it was actually my platoon sergeant of the mortar platoon that actually helped square it away for him. His back pay was ridiculous. I mean, that poor guy, he had to borrow money all the time. He wasn't getting paid anything, because he's like, what the hell's going on? I'm not getting paid. And this went on for like a year, and even his own platoon wouldn't do anything about it. It took my platoon sergeant to investigate it and look into it, and they were like, yeah, come to find out, your social security number is just one number off from this guy that's serving in Leavenworth, and he's been getting your paychecks, not you. You've been getting his pay, which is nothing.
Oh.
Yeah, his name is Diamond.
Mm.
Yep, I remember Diamond very well. Good soldier, good guy.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing, is the shitty things like that tend to happen to the good ones.
Yeah. Yep, and they couldn't figure out, and like, why are you so unmotivated? Why are you so motivated? Why are you so motivated? And he's like, I'm not getting paid. Why do you think I'm so unmotivated? It's like, I've been spending all my time. I've been serving in the United States military with no pay. What do you mean? Because I remember sometimes I'd take him to the PX and I'd buy him I'd buy him cigarettes, buy him whatever he needed.
Yeah.
He'd ask guys to float him loans, so because he wasn't getting shit, and nobody in his platoon. Of course, he had a really bad leadership structure at the time I was first in, but it changed out, and he was finally good. But yeah,
well, obviously, see, here's the thing: if you're not getting your paycheck, the first person you're supposed to go see is your top.
Yep. Well, he did.
And if top doesn't take care of it immediately, then you go to the next person up the chain. and keep going till you find the individual. You find the asshole that will do it.
Yeah. It took a different S1. At the time that it got fixed, they had a different S1 sergeant in charge of the S1 shop, and he was the one that figured it out. He's like, yeah, I figured it out. And they're like, what? And he goes, yeah, his social security number is almost exactly the same as this asshole's. It's just one number off. And yeah, because it's interesting because like my social security number and my friend Pearson's is just like 2 numbers off. So like at any time they could have confused us for one or the other. Because I think his was 4831 and his was, and mine is like, you know, a combination there. And I was just like, what the fuck? And he goes, yeah. Yeah, Army did that stuff all the time. Well, I mean, you guys know, you've been in the military. They can fuck up, fuck up a wet dream.
One bad keystroke will pluck somebody for a year plus.
You don't have to. Yeah, you don't have to tell me about the military making a mistake with numbers. I've seen it before. But we actually had a submarine on the pier in Norfolk when I was in there have helicopters blades delivered to them.
What?
Have what?
They had the helicopter blades blown up because a number was wrong on a sheet, basically.
They got one digit on the stock number wrong.
No.
Yeah, and suddenly oxygen O2 scrubbers turn into helicopter blades.
Yeah.
Now I tell you,
Of course, the people delivering it, they're not going to think twice about dropping the stuff off, helicopter blades off of the destroyer and submarine pier.
Yeah. Well, I one of the best utilizations of military tactics I'd ever seen was one of the platoon sergeants I had. He was the second platoon sergeant I had while I was in at Fort Drum. And when they had hot chow delivered to us out on the field, he would, no matter how bad it was, because sometimes the cooks were just unmotivated as shit. They got so much crap all the time. And so he would always make it a point to thank them. He's like, he would always thank them for whatever they gave, even if it was cold, didn't matter. He would tell us all. He goes, don't bitch, don't complain, nothing. Just take it. I'll deal with it. And so what he would do is he would go to the head cook. He would thank him. Hey, thank your guys for me. Thanks for bringing it out. Blah blah blah. Every time, it only took like 2 or 3 times, and then after that, every time we got hot chow on the field, we got extra eggs, extra coffee, extra cake, extra sausage. We got extra everything. They treated us like kings. And he goes, that's how you do it. He goes, you don't worry about it. You don't sit there and bitch at them and say, yeah, you guys are fuck ups. You don't know what you're doing. He goes, there's 2 people you don't fuck with in the Army. You don't fuck with supply, and you don't fuck with your cooks. No matter what they fuck up, you always thank them, and they'll make it right for you.
Oh, and aboard ship, those are the 2 people you make friends with first.
Hmm.
The dude in supply and the guy in the line.
Yep.
Every freaking time.
Yep. Which was great for me because my first roommate when I was in was Camo. So that meant since I was in good relations with my own roommate, he always made sure our Camo was squared away. And then there was a so that was always taken care of. And on top of it, I was good friends, since he was good friends with some of the cooks, and I knew some of the cooks, they would communicate back to their other cooks that, hey, our buddy is part of the team. Let's make sure they're squared away. So it helped. Because I was friends with like 1 cook in particular, Cordova. He was great. But he would always make sure my platoon was squared away because he knew me.
Hilarious you mentioned that because 2 of the first people I had made friends with on the boat after I got there, not in my own division, was HM1 Hansen and SK1 Bitfield.
Yeah, every time.
I'm assuming Camo in the Army isn't the same as Camo, the communications officer in the Navy.
I don't. Well, no. Yeah, when you're in headquarters, when you're in the headquarters company, you have Camo stationed with you. And so, since I had my first roommate was a senior. He was a specialist. Camo. There was a PFC named Woody, and he hung out with us and drank and stuff. And so, whenever there was problems with our Camo, I would just go directly to my roommate. I'd just go right to the Camo shop and say, "Hey, Tim, we're having problems here. You know, what can you do?" And he'd square it away.
What's a Camo in the Army?
You mean the MOS number?
What is, you said a Camo?
He wants you to define the
Oh,
word.
radio operator, communications,
Okay.
communications. So radio, they're responsible for the fills and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, no, just like a Camo in the Navy is the communications officer.
Oh yeah, we just called him Camo. We called Camo. We just as in Camo department. So there was a Camo. There was actually Camo.
Radio stuff, your factory name is Camo and told otherwise noted.
Unless you're at a boat where you just call them radio.
Well, that's completely different.
Don't call me radio.
Radio took on a whole new meaning when I hit active duty because of that Cuba Gooding Jr. movie.
Yeah.
No, I was thinking more along the lines of Super Troopers. Stop calling me radio. Radio.
Well, the nickname for a radioman in the Navy is usually like Sparky.
Actually, I usually, I always thought of
Sparky is any Tron in the Navy, aviation or surface side.
A Tron? What's a Tron?
Electrician, mate, or electronics tech. So like, you unfortunately in here my avatar doesn't want to load for some fucking reason. But my avatar on YouTube and on Discord, that's my rating badge. It's the helium atom with the wings. So I was an aviation electronics technician. So I went down to the component level of the boxes that were pulled out of the aircraft.
He was an Airedale.
Yes, he was.
Like the dog? An Airedale? Like the dog?
So,
very similar, but no.
No. It was a push button Airedale.
I was not push button. I earned that shit, and I actually did troubleshooting. I wasn't a fucking cast tech.
I thought it was.
See, somebody said the push button types. Somebody's thinking of a nuke.
No, you're talking about
that's his fucking job. Do push button. His job is to operate a reactor and no more.
When I first came in, most advanced ratings in the Airedale community were push buttons. You graduated boot camp, you were made a third class right away before you even went to school.
Oh no! They wouldn't do that for us.
I was an FT3 right out of A school. So
that was A school, not boot camp.
Yeah, not at a boot camp.
Again,
that's because your A school was
guys
so
are talking Spanish. H school, FT3. I don't know what these terms mean.
So,
God damn it!
I was an NCO out of my primary. I went through boot camp, which your basic training. Then I went through my A school. After my A school, for my rating, I was an NCO.
NCO in the Army.
Jack, let me translate.
NCO in the Navy.
Well, let me translate the K here. Okay. Jay, were you paying attention? Jake?
He muted for a second.
Okay, that's fine. As long as he actually.
Hey, Lord Crocker Squirrel, I'm paying attention. I just got to have it muted. Yeah, go ahead.
Outstanding. Let's run this on. Let's run this on. You know how you have, for example, infantry being 11 Bravo, right? Remember that one, right? Well, we have the same sort of thing, only we refer to it only in the Navy. They refer to them in a little more descriptive fashion. A third-class ET is an electronics technician at a rank 4. Okay, when we talk about A school, that is think of it as AIT or Advanced Individual Training. Okay, we also things called C schools, which are more advanced than that. Okay, are you keeping up? Got to remember, we grew up on we started our military careers on things like this. So we opened up our military careers on this sort of thing. I wouldn't know anything about the other side, except that not only was my dad an MP for the Army, of all the places to go to do that, but I also wound up dealing with a bunch of people after that. Okay. Do we have that? Do we have that, Jay?
All right, I'm back. I was listening. I couldn't respond because I was doing something personal.
Okay.
Yeah, just to let you know, I wasn't 11 Bravo. I was 11 Charlie. So I knew nothing about 11 Bravo.
Last I heard, the 11 Bravo is your standard run-of-the-mill infantryman. Rifle.
Okay, so take it back. When I went through the Army, I was one of the last cycles to do this. You had 11 Bravos, and 11 Bravos had 11 Bravo AIT. I went in, so you had infantry basic, 8 weeks basic training. And
right.
after that 8 weeks, then I went through OSUT, which was one station unit training. So I did my basic.
What is AIT? What is AIT?
Advanced individual training.
Yeah, that's the Marines do that after their basic. They do basic, they do the advanced infantry training, and then they go to their A school if they have aviation rating.
Yeah, for us
it's
AIT.
It's like Jay speaking Spanish.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. Let me put it in basic English. 8 weeks is your basic military school. The AIT is your MOS qualifier or your job specific qualifying school.
With all of us, kids would think of it as A school.
Yeah, you can think of it as A school. So
yeah. So my job qualifying school was 11 Charlie. 11 Bravos had 11 Bravo qualifying school. So I never actually did 11 Bravo training. I only did 11 Charlie training. After I got through that, the Department of the Army changed it to where that every infantry soldier did 8 weeks of standard basic, and then they did their 11 Bravo or infantry training, which was like another 4 to 6 weeks. And then after that, so if you were 11 Charlie, you got an additional 2 weeks, but I didn't get that. My AIT was strictly 11 Charlie. I never did. Because like 11 Bravos did like qualification with the M60 machine gun and slide for life and all this other high speed shit. I didn't do that. My AIT, I did gunner's training. 60s, 80s, 120s, which I didn't do the 120 because I didn't even remember doing the 60s because I got stuck on KP. But I mainly focused on the 81s.
Yeah.
What are those numbers?
81 millimeter mortar, the 120 millimeter mortar, track mount. Yeah, come on, Two-Bird. Fuck off.
You should know this.
Come on, that was funny.
Actually, there is two 120s though. There's a 120. There's the old school 120 track mounted system, and then there's the 120 millimeter FAMAS, which was a trailer mounted system that Fort Drum got in to test in 2000. Which was interesting because when I got out of the active Army, we worked with that, and we had that right before I got out of the Army, and then I got out, and then I went to a National Guard unit that was strictly 11 Bravo. I did my time, left for a while, went back in the National Guard, went back in as 11 Charlie, and they had the old school 120s, the old track mounted 120 millimeter mortar systems. I didn't know how to use those things to save my life. I failed my first government exam. These things were so antiquated, it wasn't even funny.
Yeah, that would tend to follow.
Mm-hmm.
If
And it was bad.
you're looking at a piece of gear that you've never seen before and are expected to qual on it, I don't expect you to do that.
Oh, they expected me to be able to qualify in it because I spent 4 years active as an 81, and I told them, I said I had seen that particular gun system before when I was at Fort Benning, Georgia, but I had never seen it again after I got away from Fort Benning, Georgia, after I got out, and then went to my permanent duty station. So it was funny because after we did a gunner's
Fort
exam,
Bend hates to give up anything.
well, it was funny because after we did a gunner's exam, and I boloed my gunner's exam on this old 120 millimeter mortar system, and subsequently caused my squad leader to fail his, because he wanted me to be his assistant gunner, and I told him, I said, no, that's a mistake. Because
That's a bad idea.
I said, that's a bad idea. And he goes, no, he goes, if you fuck this up for me, I'm going to fuck it up for you. And so I felt like for that night or that day, I felt like just total piece of shit. And then the next day we went and did cross training with another National Guard platoon, and they were the 81s. And so they used 81s, and which was my bread and butter. And I wasn't even the fastest in my platoon. And I beat the fastest 81 gunner in division the following day.
Nice.
Beat him hands down. Like nobody had ever seen somebody gun like that. And they're like, where did you learn to do this? I'm like, I'm slow. I do guys that could do long. They could do a long deflection on an 81 millimeter mortar system in like 9 seconds. So don't even think that I'm some kind of god at these things. But yeah.
That's cool.
Don't care how fast you are. They're going to more give a shit about whether or not you're on target.
Yeah, they'd never seen a compensated sight picture.
What?
They had never seen a compensated sight picture. So when you look down the scope, when you look down the sight apparatus of a mortar system, you can have you got two poles, the two aiming poles. There's a compensated sight picture, which is hey diddle diddle far pole in the middle. And I actually did that for one of the ones they gave me, and none of them had ever seen somebody do that in 5 seconds. And they were like, "There's nobody who's ever done this," and I did it. And I used to do it all the time when I was active duty. I used to get away with it all the fucking time, and my squad leader used to smoke me for it. He goes, "You need to stop fucking doing that. Stop." He goes, "It's within rag, but we don't tolerate that shit."
Well, you want to hit the target or not?
He's like, we don't tolerate that shit. You're going to be 2 mils off from the pole. If you're not 2 mils off from the pole and you're fucking compensated. Compensated works when you're on a long. Doesn't work when you're on a short. I was like, I went from a long to a short, from a short to a long to a long to a short again. I was like, I had no choice. But yeah, it was fun. It was great. And it was funny though, because I hadn't been on an 81 millimeter mortar system in years. And here I am, and I get there, and they're like, oh, yeah, there's this younger black guy, and they're like, yeah, he's the fastest gunner in division. And I beat his ass by like 10 seconds.
Damn.
Sounds like
And
the
he's
snapshot competitions we had.
Yeah, so that made him step up his game, and we got to the point, we went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and it got to the point to where we got right to tied. And he went gun up and I went gun up, and we both stood up and we both shook hands. And he's like, God damn, dude, he looked right at me and goes, God damn, dude, you're fucking good. And I was like, yeah, and I'm fucking slow. For my unit, when I was in Fort Drum, I was the slowest gunner. The slowest. I didn't qualify as a gunner the entire 4 years I was that I was in Fort Drum. Not once. Not once. Because there were always guys that were faster than me. And here I am.
There's going to be some assholes faster than you are. That's just the way the world works.
Oh, freaking! When you got guys doing large deflections on an 81 millimeter mortar system in 6 seconds, that's just ridiculous. It's like, yeah,
Ouch.
I can't beat that. You know, they could just, because normally with a large deflection on an 81, you have your assistant ammo, your ammo bearer. He helps you shift the gun left or right. These guys could do it, and they just knew. They just pick the gun up, whoop, or they'd step on the leg, push it down harder into the dirt, and they just get that extra float, and they just boop, and get it. But they always knew how to do it because it was always like, you had to be within 80 mils or whatever. So they all knew all these little cheats, and these guys could just do it really fast. So I knew some of the cheats, but I didn't know all the cheats.
Of course, you don't know all the cheats. That'd take away everybody else's competitive edge. Seriously.
Either way,
I mean-
that was my last time at drill, and then I moved to North Carolina, and I was never seen in the military again.
Oh, suck.
And my old squad leader, my section sergeant, and my old squad leader from my National Guard unit called me when I moved from Michigan down to North Carolina, begging me to come back before they went to Iraq.
That wasn't happening.
And I told them, "Fuck you, no." It's like, nope. And they're like, "Oh, we need somebody like you. You're technically savvy. You're good with computers." And I was like, "No. I'm in North Carolina. You guys have fun over there on the sandbox. I already went to Egypt once for 6 months. I don't want to go anywhere near that fucking bullshit again. Just don't want to do it." I for some reason, I don't know how I did it, but my 6 years of National Guard training, National Guard enlistment, the only time I saw desert was Egypt. I never went to Iraq, never went to Kuwait, never had to deal with any of that shit.
You got lucky.
Yep.
An uncle of mine was a chief in the Naval Reserve, and he was on the ground in Kuwait right around Desert Storm.
My condolences.
It was interesting. He actually managed to get some bags of the sand and brought it back with him, and holy shit was that stuff fine grain.
Well,
I now understand why it got into fucking everything.
yeah. The fun part of it is you got to try and. The fun part of it is you got. Yeah, I see that. I see that. There you got, Jay.
The SOG, the Navy SEAL SOG, the SEAL Pup is an awesome knife. That's all I got to say.
It is.
Awesome knife.
You used to have one of those.
Yep, they're an awesome knife. I got one for Christmas last year. It's awesome.
I used to carry one as a tertiary weapon.
Hmm.
I was too late for Desert Storm and too early for Global War on Terror.
You know what? I was too late for Desert Storm, and I managed to drum myself out for right before 9/11, and in the meantime, I had to deal with all of the shit that went on in Eastern Europe.
Oh, Yugoslavia. I got involved in that. So yeah.
Yeah, I was there. I was there long after the primary fighting was concluded, because we still had problems.
I did some operations at the beginning of it. So.
Oh no, I was there. I was there by day 5.
Oh, in Kosovo? The Kosovo, Yugoslavia? thing?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bosnia?
the space that used to be Yugoslavia.
Yeah, when I joined, so a couple of my line units actually went over. Bravo and Charlie Company went over. They went over to Bosnia while I was at Fort Drum. I never got to go because I was headquarters. So they were like, "Oh, no. I was like, well, because I even asked my platoon stars. I'm like, well, why aren't we going to Kosovo? Or why aren't we going with these line units? And he said, we're not needed. So we stayed in the rear while the line units rotated out and went to Kosovo or Bosnia, whatever.
In our first Mediterranean deployment, we spent about 2.5 months of that involved in Operations Deliberate Force. So that 6-month deployment.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, damn. Yeah, I never saw any of that. In fact, I went to Sinai. It's kind of funny because I went to Sinai in 2005, 2006. I can't quite remember, but for the sake of the conversation, let's say 2006. And it was kind of funny because after my unit left, that's when the casino and a lot got hit by a terrorist bombing.
Oh.
Or not in a lot, in Sharm el Sheikh.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I wasn't there for that. I had just left. That happened just a month after I left.
Oh,
The New Jersey National Guard came in and took our place just as we were getting ready to mob out. And so they took our place, and then we left in I think that was late July of, I'm going to say late July of 2006. And, late July 2006. Either way, we mobbed out. New Jersey National Guard took place, or took over for us at the MFO in Egypt. And, there was a terrorist attack at the casino in Sharm el Sheikh. They the casino.
Huh. You hate it when
somehow-
that happens?
I don't know how I missed that shit, but somehow I'm just kind of lucky. That's probably the reason why I had so many of my platoon members calling me back saying, "You need to come back. You seem to miss shit."
well, that'd be one reason why. I had the wonderful timing of within a month of reporting on board the Kitty Hawk. There, we were doing flight ops. Resting cable snapped and took off someone's leg right below their knee.
Aha.
Ouch.
That was quite a sight.
That was the same. That was the same deployment where we almost sunk a Italian fishing boat. So. We were deep transiting in the Mediterranean, and we ran into their fishing net.
Oh,
That sounds like
Oh.
that sounds like a cover-up fishing net.
No. That shit happened more often. That shit happened more often than you want to think about.
Really, the fishing net excuse is real?
Yeah, no. I believe me. That shit is real.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, because we're like doing a deep transit. We're deep and we're transiting at flank speed, basically. I can't tell you how fast that is. We dragged them for several miles.
Probably because it was looked over the conning tower.
let's say full flank speed is north of 30 knots.
I'm aware.
Possibly.
Okay, you guys are Navy.
I can't confirm that.
Okay, I gotta ask you guys something because you're Navy geeks. What exactly does 30 knots equivocate to?
Not
36 miles per hour.
Yeah.
Really? Okay, cool.
You could roughly say like a nautical mile is about 1.1 miles per hour. You kind of around there.
One-
So you,
1.2.
1.15.
yeah, it's somewhere in between there.
Okay. So it's like a metric unit. It's not quite exact, but it's kind of there, but it isn't.
Yeah.
One nautical mile is 1,852 meters exactly.
It's 1 minute of 1 degree of latitude.
Excuse me?
Kinda.
No latitude.
Latitude, kinda. The length of a degree of latitude varies where you're at, but one
And that's
nautical
if-
mile is exactly 1,852 meters.
And that's if you believe in flat Earth or round Earth, right?
No, I think we're going to break out the flat earther eventually.
sorry. I just wanted
So,
to.
on a
I was
flat
just trolling.
On the flat Earth, the length of a degree of latitude depends on your latitude.
There's going to be a problem with crossing circumventing the North Pole because everything is flat and laid out like a pancake, served like a breakfast. Sorry.
Wow. That's it. I'm signing all you fuckers up for Shitbirds Anonymous.
Oh, I love the flat Earth. I love the flat Earth arguments because there was the one thing that they always forget is that Magellan circumnavigated. And there's that term,
Yep.
circum-fucking-navigated the globe. And it's like, oh no, he didn't circumnavigate shit. I'm like, yeah. So do
Yeah, I
planes
did.
ever cross over the North Pole to get to another continent?
Well, you know,
Well,
he,
technically, they're right. Magellan did not circumnavigate the globe because he was killed in the Philippines.
He was killed in the Philippines.
Yeah, he died in
Magellan,
outside
Magellan
of Manila.
was killed. Yeah, he was killed in
Oh.
the Philippines. He didn't complete it. What was his name? Rodriguez or whatever. He commanded the fleet after that, and he brought the fleet back to Portugal. But no, you can even if the Earth were flat, you can circumnavigate it. That means driving around 360 degrees of longitude.
Well,
you just have to go around. You just have to go around the world to the left or right, depending on what direction.
Around the world,
Yeah.
around
Clockwise or
the world.
counterclockwise, yeah.
Well,
Around
the
the world,
problem is the
around
amount
the
of
world.
time it took at the speed. So when you know your speed and you know how long it's taking you, you can then figure out the distance. The distances don't match up for a flat Earth.
No,
Well,
they
that's
don't.
why.
Yeah,
That's why I
They
figured out-
do, but only at one place, the North Pole, where the length
Yeah.
of degree of longitude is 0 for each model. After
Yeah.
that, they start diverging.
Yeah, that's why I
The
figured.
length
I'd
of a
ask you.
degree.
You see,
the
I've
length-
actually seen.
If,
Here's the fun part of it.
hang
The-
on,
the-
hang on. If
Hang
the
on.
length, if flat earthers agree that a length of 1 degree of latitude is 60 nautical miles, then that means the length of a degree at the equator of longitude is 50% longer on the flat Earth than it is on a globe Earth, which obviously isn't right. Their navigation fails unless
Well,
you're
their navigation fails on so many other levels. It's not even remotely funny. The flip side of that is there's actually a disagreement about the flat Earth map. You see, the people from the northern hemisphere seem to use the UN style map. But most of the ones from the southern hemisphere like to split it out from Antarctica clear out to the North Pole.
huh?
And there's actually been something of a war going on between the two different flat Earth versions.
But what's funny is when you take the distortion of one AE map versus the other, when you combine them and actually make it a globe, it works.
Oh, cool. Hey, hey guys, I gotta go. I got somebody else that we're gonna chat about something. We're gonna chat about the legalization of abortion. So I am going to back out of this conversation, and you guys
You
can
have
have
fun with
fun.
that.
Oh, I will.
We'll
See you
catch
next
up
week.
sooner or later.
All right, guys. See you
All right, later, Jay.
later.
In my job, we actually used a projection map
Oh,
quite regularly.
oh. Go ahead. Sorry. Don't let me. I'm just gonna turn off my mic. I'm looking at the.
Yeah, we used an AE projection map regularly with the radar because obviously that's the projection that makes sense with a big going round aerial.
Sure. What were the dimensions of this map in nautical miles?
Well, it doesn't because of the way the radar's working. You can only use an AE projection because you're looking at a circular display that you're looking at range and bearing. You're only ever looking at range and bearing all the time from the radar.
Well, sure, but what was the diameter of this map? How many miles was the diameter of this map? If you get
300 miles.
How many?
We had a maximum range of 300 miles.
Yeah, if you get the small enough scale, the type of map projection you use doesn't matter. Which means saying you can make an AE projection, you can make a Lambert, make a Lambert conformal, Mercator, mnemonic, whatever. Very little distortion at that scale.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense for him to use like an AE projection in that case, because I mean you're basically just at the center.
Yeah, yes, exactly. We're always at the center of the map, and it gives us it actually gives the least distortion of location, because the operators would do everything by relative bearings anyway.
Yeah, it's easy when your platform doesn't move.
Very easy when your platform doesn't move. But then when your aerial weighs 60 tons, it's only ever going to go round and round.
That's actually when we were tracking, like actually doing the math to tracking context. That's kind of actually how we treated it as well. And then we converted everything basically, like projected it normally for like the officers to see and stuff.
Yeah, you project it on your digital charts or whatever, VMS.
But our actual tracking stuff we were doing, we're basically doing that where we're just everything's based upon the bearing from you to the contact, the bearing from you to the contact.
Yeah.
Well, that's what really matters, especially in that situation, because that's the beginning of the firing solution metrics that you need.
Yeah. TMA math. So.
They don't know what TMA stands for there, Eric.
Target motion analysis.
Yeah. You got to explain these things to skimmers and Airedales.
Well, see, you had fun in that way because, like, when you're doing it in sub, you have to look at it this way. It's like, radar. You're talking about an active signal. Sonar,
yes,
we're doing everything. We're doing everything passive. So I know the bearing something's at, but I don't know how far away it is. I've got to figure that out.
Teach them about Eklund.
But you're moving, so that's easy for you, isn't it? Your bearing's always changing.
Yeah, but so is that one. So is your targets.
You hope the bearings. You hope the target's bearings is.
Oh yeah, zero bearings bad because
zero. Yeah.
If you're at zero bearing, it means you're in a collision course.
CBDR.
Zero bearing rate. Yep.
CBDR. Tell them that.
Okay, guys, I got an interesting little piece of information for you. There is a Gerald R. Ford, a couple of Gerald R. Fords being built, or they're supposed to be laying down their keels here in the next year or two. We got JFK and Enterprise.
Yep, 79 and 80 and 81.
Nope, 79 and 80. JFK is 79. Enterprise will be 80. Guess where 80's getting the bulk of her hull metal from?
Russia.
China.
No. Nope. The bulk of her hull metal apparently is coming from CVN 65.
Not shocking.
I was kind of surprised by that. I'm amused. I am actually very much amused. She's going to get. They've actually stored most of the metal that made up the previous Enterprise's hull, and they're going to use it to build a good chunk of the new one.
Well, in the new one, they're using the modular type, the superlift methodology instead of what they did on the original. So it does make sense how cutting her up would make it feasible to do that in a way, but they better get those welds fucking right.
Oh yeah, no. There's a chunk of actually the keel plate's already been made for the new Enterprise. involving a chunk of steel from the previous Enterprise, melted down, remade for a kill plate.
Okay, here's a really, really esoteric trivia question. For ships to go through the Panama Canal, they have to be less than a certain width or be able to be made less than a certain width. How is this accomplished on United States aircraft carriers?
It's not.
Because technically, aircraft carriers are too wide. The flight deck is too wide to fit through the Panama Canal. There
Yeah.
is a maximum beam width no matter what height above the waterline.
Yep.
So how do
and
aircraft carriers accomplish this?
we don't go through the Panama Canal. We go down through the Straits of Magellan.
Yep.
No, carriers go through the Panama Canal.
No, we don't.
Not any aircraft carriers. Not any aircraft carrier I've met.
Every supercarrier that has relocated from East Coast to West Coast or vice versa has either done so as a transit down the tip of South America or as the end of a world cruise.
Yep.
The last naval big ship to go through the Panama Canal was one of the Iowa-class battleships. None of the supercarriers could get through the Panama Canal.
No, their beam width was made to fit through the Panama Canal.
Nope.
At the waterline maybe, but because of the sponsons and everything above the waterline and how it flared out, never been done. We've always either gone through the Straits of Magellan or at the end of a world cruise, they would relocate home ports from one coast to the other. As a matter of fact, the Kitty Hawk was at one point an East Coast carrier, did a world cruise, and then operated West Coast for the majority
Yeah,
of
that's
her
normally they
life.
do it, isn't it?
Yep.
Okay, I was misinformed.
I still think the Kitty Hawk's hilarious.
Well, the Kitty Hawk is actually smaller than was actually quite a bit smaller than some of the others.
Yeah.
I know Abraham Lincoln. There was no way we'd get her through any canal.
No, I'm talking about, like, I always thought it was funny the Kitty Hawk because she was the first in her class and the last one to get decommissioned.
Oh yeah, yeah. She was the first and last of her class. And
Yeah, I was on the Ranger. The shitty Kitty was 63, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I was on the Ranger, the 61.
Yeah, and the redesign for the elevators of the Kitty Hawk class and beyond just made way too much sense. I
never saw the Kitty Hawk, but my first med deployment was with the group with one of her sisters. So it was on one of her sister's last med deployments. So, the America.
Ah, okay, yeah. I was gonna
Yeah,
say
I
Connie
wasn't
or
thinking about-
America. But Philadelphia screwed up the JFK.
Well, yeah, duh.
Well, fucker could barely do flight ops after that slap. Yeah, it was supposed to be a service life extension program, and they fucked up the flight deck.
Yeah. Well, what the hell did you expect? You're talking about Philadelphia. What do they know?
Philly actually did some good work before that one. The reason why JFK got the raw end of the deal is because about a month into the program, they found out that they were closing the naval shipyard in Philadelphia, and there wasn't anything they could do about it, so the workers were like, well, fuck it. We're going to be out of a job anyways after this is done, so what does it matter?
So we might as well just fuck this job off.
Didn't the Forrestal class have the same beam width as modern nuclear carriers?
No, Forrestal was slightly narrower. Kitty Hawk went a tick wider and a tick longer than Forrestal. And then the Nimitz is about 5 or 8 feet wider at the beam and about 20 feet longer stem to stern.
'Cause I was on the Ranger. We had a picture in the wardroom of the ship going through the Panama Canal.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think that's right.
They've
Well,
gone.
there was a picture of the ship of the big 61 on the island going through the Panama Canal. So
I don't think they would have made it through. I don't think she would have made it through the locks. I'm not sure. Unless Ranger was really tiny.
no, it was a Forrestal class. It was before my time, long before my time, of course. But
Well,
They actually took off, and I think it was more for the Iowa battle class, but they took off sections of the roofs of the buildings in the locks because of how wide they were.
might have been a special case.
Yeah, it had to have been. As I'm actually, out of curiosity, taking a look, and the majority of images of a carrier going through Panama Canal is actually your World War II era, still straight deck, Essex and Midway class.
yeah. No, I could see, but other carriers done that. They're too big.
No, anyway, the trivia question I was getting to was about the angled deck on the Ranger was detachable for the sole purpose of being able to fit through the Panama Canal. But I remember looking at seeing this picture in the wardroom, 61 on the island. It was fitting nice right through the Panama Canal.
Oh.
But yeah, they have.
I've never actually heard of one doing that.
So
Yeah,
what
I
I
never heard of it.
what I
I've seen
found what I found interesting with the Kitty Hawk class is especially Kitty Hawk and Connie, because they were built in Brooklyn. The main mast was actually collapsible, so they could fit under the bridges on the Hudson River.
Yeah, that's another thing, another practical joke they play on new sailors, like feeding the shaft seals, getting a BT punch. Ships going under bridges, Navy ships going under bridges would tell some guy he's responsible for lowering the mast before we go into this bridge. That's a common one at going into 32nd Street in San Diego. You got to go underneath the Coronado Bridge, but all the ships can fit just fine underneath the Coronado Bridge. But you tell some junior sailor he is responsible for lowering the mast so the mast doesn't hit the Coronado Bay Bridge.
Someone actually tried that on me at one point. And I looked up at the mast, and I looked at the bridge, and said, okay. And I just stood there. I kicked back up on the side of the tower there, and just waited. He was like, "What are you doing?" He just told you, no. No. That's fine. He wants to give me this particular job. I'll take it. Why not? And I sat there and I waited. And on the other side of the bridge, I looked at him and said, "I'm not stupid."
You ever been sent to get 6 fathoms of water line?
Send you back aft to feed the shaft seals.
No.
Don't forget the mail buoy.
The mail buoy. That's all right. One of the ones I like. One of the ones I like to call. You go find me the keys to the drop zone. and all the soldiers will laugh, and all the sailors are gonna go, "What?" And I actually went to the trouble of making sure I just did that so the Navy personnel that came along, because I didn't know what a drop zone is. That's all right. I used to like to say headlight fluid.
My first sub, we had an IC-2. We'd already gotten his Dolphins. He fell for the mail buoy thing halfway across the Pacific on the first deployment.
Oh.
was walking down.
Okay,
Down
so
the upper level passageway, and this guy's in there in a
It's true.
K-Poc life jacket, harness, and a boat hook.
Yep. So, okay, so somebody describe for me what I'm seeing on the screen here. Is this actually
That's,
Ranger?
Well, that's definitely that's like a midway class.
Yeah, that's
It's
what I
like
was
Conversion midway class.
It does. It looks like a midway, but
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I just-
either,
I'm not sure which one, but it looks very midway, like pre-refit midway, like before they
Well,
added the anchor.
we're looking at something World War II or slightly after.
yeah.
For the look of the aircraft that are sitting on the deck. I'm just
Yeah.
kind of.
I was.
The problem is we can't see the hull number anywhere. We got a bunch of squirrels sitting on the front. See, that's the midway.
That is definitely a midway. It's one of them.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Yeah, that's definitely a midway.
Actually, look,
That's a Gator freighter.
wait a second. Back up a couple.
That
Back up. A little more. One more. Come on. It's the last color image we saw with the tugboat. That's it. Can anybody see the hull number on the side of that? There is a hull number on there.
Seen a 40 something maybe?
40 something?
I don't know. It's hard to tell.
Is that a?
41 would be midway.
Let's see
That
if I
looks like a Gator freighter.
I'm gonna download
No,
it. And
That's a carrier.
I'm gonna
That is
download it. And see what I can
That's
pull up.
an older aircraft
Like
carrier.
an amp.
I'm just trying to figure out what it is.
That looked like an amphib.
Well, those old midway classes pre-refit would look very newer amphibs kind of look like them, but the front kind of gives it away.
Yeah.
Because it kind of looks like the flight deck is almost looks like it's sitting on the deck of an old cruiser as opposed to,
Being a homogeneous build.
yeah.
Fared.
Somebody,
They're being
so-
fared.
somebody either needs to send me a link so I can get that picture, or something, because I gotta see. Because that would actually solve all. That would actually answer the questions we've got.
What question?
You know, the question about decks and aircraft carriers and shit.
One of them, the one where the nose, the bow part of the flight deck was a little more pointed. I found a different picture of it, and that was the Saratoga. That was CV3.
Yeah, that could work as well.
The Saratoga, huh? Cool. I don't know. Enterprise was
6.
Enterprise was number 6.
There were some features on the bow of it that kind of was giving me more of a midway vibe though than the Saratoga.
Okay, Lord Croc Squirrel, I sent it to you on Discord in a private message.
Thank you. Let me see if I can figure out who that is.
Yeah, I remember seeing it when I was clicking through before. All right, here's that one.
Well, I like
you
your
share?
picture. I just noticed your picture in Discord there, Jay.
Oh yeah.
Right,
Looks similar to the watertight door that we had.
Oh, the waiting for Chow one there, huh?
The one you had to crank open. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so the one that you showed before, Jay Brown, that was showing the Essex or Midway class nose pre-refit.
Yeah.
It was was that one? No, it was pre-Essex. It was actually CV10 Yorktown.
Oh,
Can you present?
Yeah, I could see it doing a Yorktown.
present image.
Page Patient children.
Yeah, I know. I know.
There's this one right here. I found slightly better version of it. CV-10. USS Yorktown.
There it is. Yep. Okay. I'm surprised we didn't have people jumping ship over there.
Now, in this one here, you have the Washington BB-56, and then the Enterprise over here, CV-6.
One on one side, one on the other. Let me just save this out here.
Oh, there you go. What was that? That said, well, go back. The title of that was Will CVN's, yeah.
Fit through the new Panama Canal.
Okay.
Redoing the
Never
locks
mind.
wider they would if they designed it for such, but in this original configuration, they'd have to do a lot of shit along the side of the locks for it to
Yeah,
be
they'd have
considered.
to.
building-
Well,
aren't
they'd have to
they building-
rebuild the locks completely.
Aren't they doing that? Aren't they making a new set of blocks?
Yeah, they're already done.
Okay.
So is this the image that you had before that you were trying to figure out who it was?
No.
Okay. 'Cause
That looks like the
That looks like the
Enterprise.
Lexington.
Nope, it's just Saratoga.
There you go, yeah.
Saratoga.
I can tell by the slightly tapered bow end and then the way the stacks were. This is Saratoga. Hey, look at
Didn't
that!
the
I didn't even read it
didn't-
and look right there.
Didn't the Lexington have a huge ass smokestack like that too?
Well,
Yeah.
the CV6 did as well, though.
Enterprise had it. The Enterprise had
Talk
one.
about a tight fit there.
Yeah, the only three that I know that had a big smokestack like that were the Hornet, the Enterprise, and the Yorktown. From way back.
Go back one.
Yeah, look
I
at
wonder
how.
if they go back one. I wonder if they told some of the junior crewmen, okay, you guys man the rails. If it starts getting too close, push away.
I would honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. Is that my?
That is
I would-
BB-61.
If I knew it was such a tight fit, I would have had my junior guys doing that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, just to fuck with them.
Push.
Okay,
But,
you know what? I had a completely different thought run through my brain when I saw that fit. Holy crap!
Do a search for super tanker Panama Canal. Oh, there you go.
Oh no, you don't want to do that.
Oh, you mean that one?
Yeah, I was gonna say. You don't need to do a search if you already found one.
That's the new locks right there.
Yeah,
Yeah, it looks like it.
yeah, and if the super tanker has that much room,
If
It-
that
it'd be
really well,
it'd be too
if that
tight
is
of a
super
fit.
tanker. Yeah.
Judging by touch,
That's-
no, that's not a super tanker. That's not one
Yeah,
of the big boys.
yeah, I
That's a
was gonna say.
regular.
Yeah. Well, would super tankers even need to go through the Panama Canal? Usually go through the Suez Canal.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, it's a zoom wall. Breaks down in Panama Canal. Oops.
That's only
But
happened
the
every time
what
they
was-
go out. Do they break down?
what was that one Aegis class cruiser? Some crewman was entering values, and normally when you had enter 0, people would just hit enter. But this guy entered 0 and hit enter, and it shut down the whole ship for like 3 hours.
Here's the thing I don't get. Here's the thing I don't get about what they think of as quote unquote modern ship design. And I'm not talking about military vessels. Most of the folks that do military vessels have brains in their heads. I'm talking about modern cargo carriers and these big cruise ships where the waterline and the deck might as well be the same thing. And they usually are within about, say, 2 or 3 meters.
What do you mean?
Okay.
What do you mean?
Hang
Yeah,
on,
side-
trying to find a good one, a good
Give me
side
a-
profile.
Give me a side
Well, some
profile
of them-
cargo carrier.
Like on some of the cargo carriers, fully loaded, yeah, because I mean,
I wonder who
They-
that is.
Hey, it's a T-Hull.
yeah,
It's either Georgia or Florida, I bet.
What were you talking about, Squirrel?
I'm talking about those the heavy cargo carrier,
Yeah.
and or your average pleasure ship, which for some reason seems to be, at least the most modern ones seem to think that it's really cool to have your water line right just very slightly down from the deck.
What do you mean, just down from the deck?
As in, you have water, and about 2 meters up from that, usually that's where your cargo containers are being placed.
Most of your ones with that shallow appearance end up being oil tankers. A lot of your cargo containers are better than that now.
Well, I actually saw one.
You talking about the amount of? You
I
talking about the
actually saw
amount of
one of those
freeboard?
come in before at Tacoma here recently, and she was so laden down that the markers for the water line were right there. She was above her water line marker.
Well, look at this though. On a
Yeah,
lot of them, you'll see. Actually, let me go back. There's a different one that. So this one here, they design a fuck ton of the hull below. Like when you actually look at it, the intended water line is right about here. When it's
Yeah,
actually
fully
full-
laden.
yeah, fully laden. It's
Yeah.
it's there, but under average conditions, it could end up being around here. It's just
Well, super
or even
tankers.
lower, really. I mean,
Super tankers are either fully
there.
laden or empty.
Yeah, if you're talking about a tanker, it's either completely loaded down or entirely empty. No, I actually saw a cargo ship come in, and her deck was less than 2 meters off the water.
probably fully laden.
Yeah.
It was fully laden.
So
And
what's the problem?
I want to know what Dylan's designed that. And
A
or
marine-
somebody that was actually
A
okay to
marine
operate.
engineer who knows what he's doing.
Either that or an idiot captain.
no. It's finding that balance in design.
Are you a marine engineer, Squirrel?
You need to find that balance between draft and freeboard. If you have too much freeboard, your weight you end up having too high of a center of mass and center of gravity, which will throw off the characteristics of the ship. So
Yeah, marine engineers know these things.
yeah, like something like this, it looks low, but it's because it's a massive fucking ship.
Yeah, I mean that's like what? Deck's what, like 20 feet off the water? I mean, it's
20 or 30, sure.
Yeah.
With a 100-foot draft. It's probably drawing 100 feet in that picture. So what's the problem?
Yeah, seems like an easy way to swap a ship. That's just me, though.
Yeah,
I
that's
think it
just you.
they
Marine
just-
engineers would disagree with you.
they just like look low because I mean they're huge, and then of course they're kind of like
and they're squat and they're
they're kind of
wide.
yeah, they're squat and wide, so it makes it look
Yeah, when you're fully laden, you got humongous moments of inertia that you're not going to get swapped. Even if a wave breaks over your bow, you're just going to plow right through it.
Yeah, and a lot of them, when you look at this, when they're actually going out to sea, this is all sealed and they have their watertight integrity, so anything that does come up and over is actually going to cascade off.
See, I wasn't actually talking about a tanker to begin with, was I?
Well,
I said a container ship.
And even the containers, it's still the same premise. It's still the same design intent.
I actually used to have that model.
Well, let's look at
that
some
one?
container ships.
That one. I don't even. I'm not even going to bother with it now. But nobody's going to agree with me anyway. I just think that
Look us up.
I personally
Our
think it's
deck isn't
really
that high off
fun.
the water.
No one's going to agree with you because you're not a marine engineer.
To be a marine engineer to know something doesn't look right.
Yes.
See,
you do.
that don't look right.
That's really not right.
Oh no, because the fucking keel broke.
Yeah. But I've seen container ships like that sitting a lot lower in the water than this.
Sure, there's one right there.
This is typical for what I've seen, and you actually got a fair amount of container ships in and out of the Boston area.
Well, we get quite a bit out of Tacoma. I just saw one riding really low a couple of days ago, and thought that was really not very intelligent. Of course, I really don't like I really try not to think very highly of the big passenger ships either. That just looks like they're way too top heavy.
It's funny that you mentioned the cruise lines. I'm actually compiling a bunch of video and pictures from my cruise that I took in 2015 with my family and friends. That doesn't look right, Jared.
That looks fun.
Oh,
Oops.
see, that's what I half expect that. It's like that sometimes.
Well, that was a Loadmaster error.
Well, look, it kind of looks like, yeah. Well, somebody screwed it up.
No,
You guys
that
heard
could
about
be a
that?
ship's captain error.
Was that about 30 years ago? Some Ro-Ro container ship ran into heavy seas in the Pacific. A bunch of containers fell overboard. One of the containers held boxes and boxes of thousands and thousands of rubber ducks.
Oh,
Yeah, I remember that.
And the oceanographers are asking people, if you find a rubber duck on the beach, let us know where you found it so we can study ocean currents. They found someone like in the Arctic Sea in some remote Eskimo villages. But dang, whoever tied those containers, they did a pretty good job.
Oh, yeah.
It's origami. That's what it is.
Oh, so that was a Japanese container ship. Is that what you're saying, you racist?
That one's Panamanian. And it's more like Tetris, actually, but yeah. Now that's
well,
unit.
just because it's flagged in Panama doesn't mean that's where the company is out of.
Yeah, you find that a lot in the cruise lines because a lot of them are flagged out of Panama because they don't want to deal with the U.S. labor laws.
And other Caribbean bits like Norwegian. They only have one ship that is actually flagged out of the U.S. and it's the one that they do the cruises around Hawaii, and there's only one reason for that. It's because since they do not hit an international port, they have to be American flagged on that route.
And there's no gambling because Hawaii doesn't have gambling, and there's very strict limits on the alcohol consumption as well.
Yep.
About 2 years ago, I and my siblings and my parents took the Norwegian cruise line ship.
Hey, what the hell is this one doing in here?
The Pride of America.
That's
It was
not
a great
super
cruise.
ship.
But Man, I got shit faced so many times, so I don't know about this alcohol limit you're talking about.
No, it's only on the American.
Oops.
It's only on the American ones. That's
Well, this Pride of America ship only hit Hawaii, didn't go anywhere else.
Yeah, exact. That's the line. That's the run we're talking about. But now they do have sorts of limits on it. But actually, you know what? I'll pull up my favorite.
actually trying to find.
This one is a fun ship. It's not as big as, it's actually one of their smallest cruise ships, but inside is beautifully done.
Oh, I'm sure.
This is part of the atrium right there. As a matter of fact, this is the guest services desk right there.
Yeah.
The funny about those things too is those cruise ships do look kind of like tall, but when you realize that like most of the stuff you see up top is kind of a lot of empty space.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, look.
Yeah, it's like they got
You
like
showed an
30,
image of the
they
Norwegian
got
Bliss.
30-foot drafts.
Oh, the Bliss? Yeah.
Yeah, the big one that Norwegian just came out with. That's doing currently Alaska cruises from Seattle right now.
Yep.
Yeah, it's part of...
And actually just arrived.
Look
Is
up
that-
Pride of America.
Is that part of the breakaway class?
Yes, it is. Breakaway
Yep.
Plus.
Yeah.
The Bliss is Breakaway Plus. She's freaking huge. She's also actually bigger than Joy and Escape both.
Look up Pride of America. That's the one I went on 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yep, that's it.
Snub nose.
Ramming speed.
Prepare for ramming speed.
Okay, hang on.
Okay,
Hang on,
Warren.
I gotta tell you a story about that. Hang on. Let me get outside first. We were, me and the whole family were on the Pride of America pulling to one port, and the ship's maneuvering. The ship's maneuvering to let me try this again. The ship was maneuvering to get pier side, and it's kicking up mud. You know, the screw's kicking up mud.
Mm-hmm.
My stepmom was, "Oh my God, that's disgusting! They're just pumping the sewage right into the bay." Like, no, that's just the screw kicking up mud from the bottom.
But she said she probably took offense.
Yeah, she was like really upset. It's like, I can't believe they're doing this, pumping sewage right into the harbor. Why don't they do that out at sea? Like, they do that at sea. That's the screw in the bow thrusters kicking up mud.
Actually, you know, whenever we ported in Naples, the Bay of Naples, we did not hook up for sewage
Oh
the pier.
God. Yeah.
Literally,
oh,
they
God.
just put an elbow joint on there and dump and pump it right out to the bay.
Yeah, that's the WAPs for you.
I thought it was
let's see.
hilarious because they put our nuke sub at the end of this really, really long pier. But then we can pump sewage right into the bay.
Yeah. No, when I was in the reserves, I was on a frigate, and I did my 2-week tour. And the 2-week tour was going down to Cabo San Lucas. Really, really arduous duty. But
I know, right?
I would have duty as, you know, the navigation watch, because we anchored out. If you anchor out, you know, you gotta make sure you're not dragging your anchor.
Yeah.
But some little tender would come by, and we would pump our shit and piss onto this tender, and they're supposed to go out to 12 miles before they dump it, right? And I would watch them on radar. They'd go out like 6 miles and start turning back.
It's like, oh, we did it. We're done. Turn
Yeah.
around.
Close,
We do the duty.
close enough, hombre.
The duty got dude.
Yep.
Oh yeah, no. There was all. See, I never actually had some of the problems you guys are talking about.
Well, no. All you had to do was dig a hole.
Well, yeah.
Well, on the sub, you're generally fine with the toilet stuff as long as you don't try to flush the toilet when you're blowing sands.
Yeah. I
Don't do
told
that.
I told that story. Bo told his story, then I tried to top him. I told him the story about pressurizing sands, going shallow, opening valves, and before you do all that, you hang signs saying blowing sanitaries do not use.
You don't want to be that person that tries. You don't want to be
And
the person
there's
that
always-
opens that ball valve when you're
And
blowing.
there's always some knucklehead who has to use the toilet.
Wow.
Well, there's. Yeah, to be perfectly honest, I never actually had to dig one of those holes. I had people to do that for me. It was
Yeah.
it was the one job I almost always managed to get out of.
It's good to be an officer.
Rank does have its privileges every once in a while, but generally speaking, I wouldn't do anything that I wouldn't order my men to do anything that I wouldn't do myself.
Except
I did it one
except when you
time
didn't
and
want
never
to.
again. They're like, but boss, yeah, no, I've done. I joined in this time. You guys will never see me on the studio again. But nope, already did it once. Don't have to do it again. That's what you guys are for. But
Why do you think Why do you think I have you here?
Someone has to have the shit detail.
so what? Yeah, someone gets it. It wasn't gonna be me.
This is a view from my cruise to Alaska. This was the nicest day that we actually had, going out to see the glacier at Tracy Arm.
Nice.
Let's see. Can
You know, the one thing about a lot of the cruises that really I don't understand is why fly down to Florida to take a cruise when I can just drive an hour north and take one out of Boston? Or hop a train a couple hours south and take one out of New York. But then again, I can take the Dawn out of Boston, go to Bermuda around the time of my birthday, which is mid to late October, and my wife and I can do a cruise, just the two of us, that time of year for a week for half the price of what it would be if we were to do one right now. So instead of $3 to $4 grand a person, we're looking at $3 grand total.
Yeah, I mean, we did ours on the Disney Wonder, one of the smaller ships of the Disney fleet, and at the time it was me and my wife, and we did it for $2,800 total for the two of us for a week, out of Vancouver, Canada.
Location tends to be a factor.
Well, currently the average going price for that cruise right now. Let's see here. Go back. We're actually
Does that
looking
include
for-
Does that include dysentery insurance?
Nah. They have you scrubbing your hands so much with antibacterial wipes and everything. It's crazy.
Yeah, they had that on the cruise I was on. Every galley, or
Oh yeah,
Every
every restaurant they had little Purex dispensers, and someone standing there to make sure you Purexed your hands.
washy.
But damn, the food was good.
Oh yeah. Let's see.
Norwegian Cruise Lines has those potato, what they call them, little tiny miniature potato pancakes.
Oh
For breakfast,
yeah,
They were
Those
really
fuck-
good, weren't they?
they're fucking
Yeah.
addicting.
Blanca or something like that.
Yeah, they were.
That is the one downfall about a cruise is you can easily end up eating so much without realizing it, and then be like,
you gain 2 pounds per day.
So right now, just for 2 adults, it's starting the cheapest at 3,466 for 2 adults for next year, and I'm assuming it's like late October or late August, early
Yeah.
September. To the most expensive, which would be this summer, $7,750. So Let me take a look.
yeah.
And that's just for an inside stateroom, which, let's see here. Let's pull that one up, because that's actually next week. a week from Monday, actually.
Yeah, so
That is for a standard inside stateroom, which is only 184 square feet.
Oh yeah, fuck that. And here's the thing. I will not do an inside stateroom again. I did it the first couple times. Dude, it is so easy to just fall asleep and lose half to 3/4 of the day without even realizing it. It gets so fucking dark. At this point, there has to be at least an ocean view window, if not a balcony. At least that's for me.
We did the
107
deluxe.
square feet is not very big.
We did a deluxe stateroom for our deluxe inside stateroom for ours, which is 214 square feet, and that held me, my wife, and my mother-in-law, because originally it was just going to be me and my wife on this cruise with our friends in a couple other staterooms, but my father-in-law had passed away 2 months after we had left Olympia, Washington, to go move to Colorado, and so didn't want to leave her home by herself while we were off doing this, so we got her booked on the cruise with us. So, but that 214 square feet, when we're spending almost all our day, out and
Elsewhere.
about,
Yeah.
it didn't really matter. Even when we were all in there getting ready for like our formal night and things like that, it didn't take. There wasn't hardly any bumping or anything like that. We were able to move around pretty easily.
Yeah, the size of the rooms really are deceiving because they are well laid out. They actually have taken a lot of care in the floor plan in that aspect on a lot of the ships that I've seen and been on. The biggest thing for me really is just that whole natural light aspect where it's on an inside room, when you get that gentle rock when you're on a sea day, oh my god, it is, you sleep like a fucking baby.
Oh, it was just like being back. It was just like being back underway for me. I was just like, oh, we're rocking. Okay, I can fall asleep now.
Yep. Actually, I kind of missed being underway after they decided that they didn't need to be on a ship anymore. After they decided to be assholes with me. Yeah, I missed it for a long time. Still miss it sometimes. Hello.
Yeah,
No, we heard you.
yeah, I'm just thinking, it's like, can I get the time off to go on a cruise now? But
Yeah, I'm trying to save up money to do another one. This whole working the one retail job I have does not make it so I can go on these things very often.
yeah.
Ooh, working retail.
Yep.
Just re-enlist and go on a cruise for free.
So,
Yeah. No.
not
But yeah,
that
but
kind
then you
of
Cat
cruise.
for that.
I'm
then
past
you
that
can't-
point, so.
Yeah. No, they won't let me in anymore. Nope.
I
Oh,
just turned 40.
Too
I
old,
just
too
turned
out of shape.
45.
Wait, was that you that shared that picture, Jay Brown? don't know if I miss being in or just Stockholm
If it's
syndrome.
Stockholm syndrome, yeah, that would
Yeah.
be.
Yeah, Stockholm syndrome is probably pretty accurate. Oh, crap. Speaking of work, I got a bunch of that I'm still supposed to be doing.
Yeah, what I need to do can wait till the morning.
Well, I should say, if I wait for the morning on some of this, I'm gonna have a problem when I when I go to do my live stream tomorrow.
Mm. Oh yeah, you have that. See, that's why I like this one. It's a little more relaxed. Minimal prep work now that I got the fucking bugs figured out and the stream is actually behaving, which I don't fucking get it. Tonight the stream has... I've been keeping an eye in OBS, the stream health, and it has been so much better tonight than it has been on the other version of OBS I was using. And,
Yeah, it has to happen that way.
well,
So-
I think it's a combination tweaking the settings in OBS, but also found out on, what was it, Tuesday? There were a handful of loose connections between the pole and the house for the internet. So we were
Huh.
bleeding a lot of signal.
Really? That's no fun. Can't have that. So I have a question for you guys. Back to the whole aircraft carrier trivia thing. Can anybody remember the date that she actually has two dates in question? The date she became the date she went inactive and her actual decommissioning date.
For which boat?
Enterprise. Sorry, I should have been more clear. 65. No fair with Wikipedia. They are two. You do actually. There's two different dates.
Yeah, there's when they're stricken from the register and when they're actually decommissioned.
No, she went inactive and was not actually decommissioned until much later.
Yeah,
Her
because-
official decommissioning she wasn't stricken from the records. She wasn't stricken from the registry until she was officially decommissioned. But she was listed as inactive for a while.
Yeah, almost a year if I remember right.
Longer than that.
It was longer than a year?
That actually,
Quite a bit longer, actually.
if you actually
The
pay
Enterprise?
attention, that happens with all nuke boats. But yeah, the Enterprise has been there for a long time.
Okay.
Well, yeah, because they mark it inactive. They have the decom crew
But there's one more
doing
question.
doing a lot of that cutting and everything, and then once it's at that point that they can
Sorry
decommission,
about that.
then they do. So yeah, if I remember
Yeah, 'cause
right,
they-
she went inactive. I'd say I forget the exact date, but I remember it was 2008.
No. She remained in service until 2012, sir. She became inactive in December of 2012.
12? Was it 4
Yep.
years after I got out? I thought it was shorter. I thought
No.
I thought it was only a few months. No, the announcement was a few months after I got out. That's right.
Right, but she wasn't that she wasn't started until Gerald Ford was ready to take over for her.
Yeah, wow. And
Right.
even then, Ford still isn't quite ready.
Yeah, and well, let's see. They actually started. They started pulling off some of the metal they were going to need for the next Enterprise in 2013, but she wasn't stricken from the record until February of 17. That's when she was officially removed. And in fact, if I'm not mistaken, most of her hull is still intact. She's being taken apart and then melted down for other modules for the new Enterprise.
Yeah, like the Los Angeles, like the USS Los Angeles class. She was in that kind of state for a year.
Yeah.
You find it happens a lot with the nuke boats because basically they kind of sit in that state until they basically are ready to be scheduled for the submarine recycle program. So.
Well,
Can they do that with a nuke though?
That's what said all the
do.
nukes. It's like that's what happens with almost all the nukes.
Was a nuke boat, and as was
Yeah.
actually, believe it or not, 65 was also the first nuclear aircraft carrier.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, and that's part of why it took so long for the Enterprise between the two, is they were figuring out the process as they went along.
So do you hate me after those pictures, Jared?
No, because here's the thing with the way my jobs
Oh.
are and how much money I make. If I really wanted to go on a cruise this October, I could. It's just whether or not I want to take the time off from school. That's the issue.
Actually, looks like GR Ford is actually underway and has been since April of last year.
Yes, but it keeps breaking.
Yeah, well, that's a different issue.
And keep having to go back to port.
So, maybe some of you bubbleheads will know this one. Who is the who is the only still living president with a naval ship named for him?
Jimmy
In fact,
Carter.
the whole class.
Jimmy Carter.
Matter of fact, the whole class of submarines.
No, they were named after the Seawolf.
Yeah.
Jimmy
Yeah.
Carter
Oh,
was part of the Seawolf class.
If
Yeah,
I
That was
remember
either-
right.
That was either
The Carter
President
is a
Los
Seawolf
Angeles.
class.
President.
Yeah,
President
we're
Ohio.
talking about Jimmy Carter.
Are you talking about the George Washington? Are you talking about the George Washington class?
Talking
I'm
about
not
a class
sure-
of
I
submarine
wasn't
named
sure- I'm not
after a
sure if-
president.
I'm not sure if the Jimmy Carter was a
Is
Was-
a Seawolf.
It
was
was
a
a
ship
Seawolf
of
class.
Yeah.
was a ship of the
It's one of
class
the-
or Seawolf
That's one of the
class?
three Seawolves. Yeah, it's one of the three Seawolves. The three Seawolves are the Seawolf, the Connecticut, and Jimmy Carter.
Well, hooray!
James
That means I've learned something too. But yeah, no, it's actually generally been considered rude to name a thing after a still living figure.
There's an aircraft carrier that's named after a still living president.
Yeah, Bush.
The Bush.
George H.W. Bush. Yep.
It's still considered rude.
Hmm.
And last I heard,
I agree.
You got to realize it's been a few years. I don't think George W. Bush is going to keep breathing too much longer, though.
No, after Barbara went, he's not far behind.
No, I didn't
Yeah,
think.
well, given his service in World War II, he kind of deserves to have a carrier named after him.
Yep. Yeah, see, it made sense for
Look-
him to have a carrier named after him, but Stennis?
Yeah, right.
How many people know who John Stennis is? Or Carl Vincent?
He was that guy on Captain Kangaroo.
No,
Actually,
that
after
was Steuben.
What really scared me though when they named the third boat after Carter was I thought it was going to be like one of those Hyman G. Rickover things.
Oh yeah.
Because Rickover died like 2 years of them commissioning the USS Hyman G. Rickover. Thought that. What are you doing? Signing his death warrant?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're gonna name a submarine after a president, it should be someone who kind of qualified submarines didn't
Alright, is it-
Right.
is
We
it just-
served on
Yeah, he's
submarines,
robot. They
the
can go on
closest
my
we
end, too.
got.
Okay, sorry,
All right.
sorry, Chew, but
Okay,
you were
I'm gonna have to-
roboting bad on that one.
I'm gonna have to kill my mic. I'll be back in a few.
I mean, he graduated Nuke Power School.
Alright, we missed a lot of what you said
You can
before
vote.
that, Chew, because you were roboting.
Yeah.
I missed it. What was that trivia question about the Enterprise? Oh, sorry. So if you get a name of a submarine after a president, I guess the closest one you could name would be Carter.
Yeah.
He's all weight power. What was that trivia question about the Enterprise? Squirrel was asking.
Oh, the length of time between being stricken from the active roster and then actual decommissioning.
Oh.
But all nukes, because of the complexity of the decommissioning process, it's a common thing for it to be a year plus.
Right. Power stuff.
They tried to recruit me as a nuke. I didn't go for it.
I knew better.
They tried with me, and I laughed, and my recruiter didn't understand why I found it so funny.
Do you know? I can tell you. You know the point in time when I came to the full realization that I had made the right choice of turning down the nuke program. Got back from my first deployment, and I had already picked up all my clothes. And I was heading off the boat down the pier, glancing off to my left, and seeing the nuke still connecting shore power.
oh yeah. When I was looking at the rates, I didn't even consider any of the engineering rates, and one of the guys in there was like, "Well, why are you ignoring all these?" It's like, you haven't paid attention to what the rates actually do, have you? Well, no. Here's a hint. Engineering department. They're the first ones on, and the last one's off. Fuck that noise.
Well, also is kind of the tail end of stuff too. And back then, pretty much all of the ATF AF fields were set up like the nuke pipeline. Like we were all auto E3s. We were all auto E4s out of A school, and
Yeah, well, that tended to happen.
it made
want to be covered in oil.
it made
and grease.
subcrews. It made subcrews kind of funny though. 98 enlisted people aboard, 4 E3s are below.
It was different when I was in.
Well, yeah, they got rid of all that accelerated advancement.
That's just it. I mean, like when I did it, when I did delayed entry program, they're like, "Oh, you need to recruit people so you can make E3 and E2, E3 really quick." I'm like, why do I want to do that? That means I'm gonna have to get more responsibility quicker. No. I've had enough people in my family that were in the Navy. I know that starting from the bottom and working my way up will look better than just being fast tracked through because of a computer program field, you know.
Well, it gets. You want to know the funniest guy I ever saw on board ship? We had ourselves an ETSR.
That takes skill.
The lone bumblebee, huh? Wow.
We got on board ship. He actually came on the same day I did.
How many times was he masted?
Huh? Oh, at least 3 times. He was. Yeah. He came on an ETSR and he's got to be in the radio room with the rest of us, Flex. He knows what the radar looks like. Unfortunately, he hasn't got enough rating to be able to touch any of it. He can't touch anything in the shop. And then we got and then wandered in Ensign Asshole. Remind me next week. I'll tell you all about. I'll give you guys a whole rundown on Ensign Asshole.
Yeah, it's just,
This is the guy
well, it's funny.
this is the guy that he sent me to the brig 3 times in 2 days and recommended me for at least as many commercials.
Napoleon?
Huh?
Napoleon complex?
Oh, you have no idea. He was actually pissed off because I actually got to board the ship before he did. I was directly in front of him in line, and I wouldn't let him bully his way through me.
Yeah, well, that's the thing about bigger ships like mine. All the officers went somewhere else.
Well, this particular ensign had no idea where he was supposed to be. He just grabbed a line and used his rank to bully himself as far ahead as he could. He spent the entire trip through the line berating my ass, and then he tried to walk through the OOD. That didn't go well. That went very bad.
No.
Uh,
When I got there, the 4 E3s or below we had was an A Ganger, an SK, an MS, and 1 undesignated striker.
Wow.
Damn.
That was the entire. They were all E3s, so I'm using E3 and below somewhat loosely there. 'Cause we didn't have anything less than E3.
Well, no, but the Undead Striker is interesting.
Oh, he
We had
was
an undesignated striker too.
this guy. I mean, this guy actually had more time and rate than I did. And, well, not time and rate specifically, but he had more time in than I did at that point when I first got there. But he was just going from point to point. He just really, he never really found. He just wandered from division to division. One of those that never really finds his spot.
Where the hell did you get that image?
Oh
Who
my
did that?
god.
Scientist Mel shared it on Twitter, so I thought it'd be appropriate to share it here.
Yeah.
How
Wow.
freaking stand it? I gotta go.
Hang on.
You're gonna track her down on Twitter anyway.
There we go for people watching. Holy fuck.
I don't know who made that, but damn.
And of course, I liked it and retweeted that already. So
I saw that in a one of the Discord servers earlier, and just gotta shake my head at that one.
Yeah, no kidding.
oh, wait, what's this?
No, that's got to be a pro.
I don't think it was done in any seriousness, but still. Wow. Retarded. No, actually somebody let Psystrike know that I may not turn up for movie night. I've got a huge raft of problems here already, and we have people up the hill that are being nasty with the fireworks.
Alright, I'll let him know.
If I turn up, I turn up, but
I remember that one.
hour. So, if yours was, it's flat, round, and hollow. Oh, damn. Okay, where is this? Okay, you must give me this animation. I want it.
Again, this is something Scientist Mel shared on her Twitter feed. I'll send you her link.
Please provide me a link with that, because I'm gonna
Yeah,
gotta do
it's
something.
great.
Here. Science versus scientism pummeling Einstein flat Earth. This ought to be entertaining.
Oh, Nathan Oakley's stuff! Yay!
Oh,
This is gonna be brutal.
oh, Anthony Roakley. God, two
What's funny is I
fucking
was watching-
idiots.
I was watching Hillel and Psystrike talk about this on the Twitter notification group, and I think Hill has the best understanding is that Nathan just doesn't care. He's just trying to push the agenda. So, and
Oh,
I sent
yeah.
you the link to Scientist Mel on Twitter. They're correct.
Yay! I just fell.
Yeah,
See,
see, the thing with, like, I understand, Nathan is purely in it for the money. He is a showman. Riley is an outright fucking liar.
Oh yeah, no. Who's also in it for the money, but still.
Yeah, but how much do you really think he's getting?
Enough to keep him in purple dildos for a while? I don't know.
I would say he's not getting much from Flirth because he has the transport business, which, oh yeah, he's constantly in court about because motherfucker doesn't want to get the proper license.
Oh wow!
Oh, is he
Yeah,
representing himself?
What was that?
yeah, just like Mr. Hovind tried to. We
I
all know
said-
how that ended.
Well, I was gonna say, is he representing himself? Because didn't he at one point
Yes.
claim that he was a lawyer? But
Yes, he is self-representing, and he has been ticketed for not having the proper license for operating a commercial vehicle with passengers. He fought it, lost, appealed, lost, and is now appealing again to a higher court where he's going to lose, and then has another British court above that he can appeal to, where he's going to lose. And then he said he has plans, after that appeal is lost, to take it all the way to the European Union court.
What?
Yeah.
That won't
yeah,
work.
they're still technically part of the EU. So
Because the
Yeah, but-
offense happened while they were still under the EU, he thinks he's going to be able to take this all the way that high.
That ain't gonna
I
happen.
don't think that'll work.
I would say that wouldn't work in any way, shape, or form.
No, what he is essentially fighting is the British equivalent of a Class A license, of an actual CDL. So think about that. You're driving a large vehicle that requires a CDL, driving without one, but because you're self-employed and you have your cell phone, which is your method of contact for this business, you think you're exempt from the licensing requirements?
it's just a formality. He doesn't need it.
Is he one of those Freeman on the land types?
Borderline, yes.
I have
Beca-
the right
because-
to travel.
Well, no, his argument is the business is not the
It's
vehicle.
Being detained.
Oh, no, his argument has been that his business is not the vehicle, it's the application and everything on his mobile phone.
What?
Yeah,
Yeah,
No, that's
Yeah.
that's bullshit.
he's gonna lose. He's gonna waste time, waste money at every step, and he is going to lose. That's why.
Well,
That's why
hopefully you
whenever
wind up in jail.
it's not. From what I've seen, it is not a jailable offense for what he's fighting. However, continuing to operate during all these appeals and losing all of them, then they may end up getting him for it.
Well, if he's going to the dock he's going to go to the dock for good for that shit, because that's contempt of court on top of everything else.
Yep.
all right, guys. I'm gonna go
And
get something before moving
And as Tommy Robinson will tell him,
All right.
you can
Later,
get 13
Jay.
months for that.
later.
Yeah, it's just interesting. And I laugh about it, and that's why generally when I see him active somewhere where he actually recognizes when I type, I always ask him, have you gotten your CPC yet?
No.
And the last time I asked him was on Sean's Hangout, or was it Red's? One of the two, and he replied in chat that, nope, I'm appealing it, and if I have to, I'm going to take it to this higher court and appeal it, and if it doesn't work there, then I'm going to take it to the European courts and appeal it there, and it's like, you're a fucking dumbass.
I don't think dumbass quite covers it this time.
Oh,
I think dumbass is. I think dumbass would actually be entirely too nice for this particular issue.
He'd have,
Yeah,
he'd have to be promoted to reach dumbass.
That's an insult to dumbasses.
Happen for him to be a dumbass.
well,
And
no, him thinking he can continually appeal it at progressively higher levels is why I just laugh and call him a dumbass. The fact that he thought he could get away with it and the rest of his history takes him beyond just basic dumbassery, but looking at just this instance alone, laugh, shake my head, and he's a fucking idiot.
See, here's the thing. If he was caught doing that on this side of the pond, he'd be boned. They take his vehicle, they take his freaking, they take his license, and then they dare him to try it again.
Yep.
And the second he got behind the wheel of anything, his ass was going right back. His ass was going to jail for at least a year. Because driving on suspended, not something that's well tolerated right here.
That is true. Which is why I can't help but laugh, because he's a fucking dumbass.
I'm surprised.
He's a goddamn idiot.
I'm surprised.
Yeah.
He still needs a promotion to get to idiot. He couldn't get to idiot if he wanted to. He'd have to know what an idiot is first. Holy shit, with a hand grenade.
Well, see, and here's the thing. He knows well
Are
enough.
we off the air now?
No. We're still going.
In which case, Psystrike's in the chat, so he probably knows what's going on. So,
Well, I don't know if he's really listening, because that message from him was 20 minutes ago.
well, to be perfectly honest with you, the only problem I'm actually having is that we have people with fireworks nearby, including the reservation. The Muckleshoots are just up the hill, and we've got some other assholes on the other side that like to set off very large explosives. And you can imagine what that's doing to me.
Oh.
Having been some of the places I've been.
No,
Things going wrong is never good.
No, I'm aware, and that's where, like I said, I'll let him know.
Do please. I might actually, if they keep it, if they lay off it for the next little while, I might get a chance to tell it myself. Right now, I'm just, yeah. And on top of that, I've got no nicotine, no alcohol, nothing.
Well, it is a good time to go ahead and wrap it up. That way I can settle a little bit, maybe get a bite to eat before the show begins on Psystrike's channel. So we're gonna call this one a night. And if you're able to get the piece that you need before to join, I'll see you over there. If not, I will let Psy know what's going on. And,
yeah.
And for that audience out there, we will see you next week.